Chapter 1564. The two kids really believed Chun Zhao's bullshit. But Chun Zhao couldn't stop complaining. Because the two of them, the so-called elves, did not come out of fantasy stories. It wasn't strange for him to talk about the underground world in science fiction. Chun Zhao didn't plan on letting them believe him at all. But they really believed him. Chun Zhao didn't know if he should call them stupid or naive. Chun Zhao was used to lying. He just said it casually, but they actually believed him. You underground people. This was what they called Chun Zhao now. Are there a lot of underground people? Where's your underground world? Can you take us there? First, tell me about you elves. Why are you here? It's not the dark elves. It's all them, Bao complained. Bao complained. They want to find the enlightenment water in the cave. Water of enlightenment? What's that? Chun Zhao asked, confused. It's a treasure that can evolve the elven bloodline. Bao. Vader immediately reminded her. Vader was usually careless, but his mind was clear. Where's the water of enlightenment? Chun Zhao asked shamelessly. Even though he knew it was their secret, Chun Zhao still wanted to know. Just from a name, one could tell that the water of enlightenment was good stuff. Suddenly, a chill came from behind. Chun Zhao raised his arm and grabbed it. It was an arrow, and not an ordinary one at that. The moment Chun Zhao grabbed it, a bone-chilling coldness exploded from the arrow. Half of Chun Zhao's shoulder was instantly frozen. Chun Zhao turned around and saw Undine walk out from the corner. Mom, Vader and Bao, cried in surprise. Undine's expression was still cold. A cold aura surrounded her. Chun Zhao was surprised. These elves were really good at hiding their auras. As long as they weren't in his small world, he couldn't sense them at all. Undine looked at Chun Zhao coldly. Sir, it's embarrassing to lie to two kids. Chun Zhao grinned. She seemed to have heard what he'd said to the two kids earlier. So are you going to regain face for your children? The ice on Chun Zhao's shoulder suddenly shattered. He stretched his arm. Undine's pupils suddenly shrank. To be honest, she didn't want to have a conflict with him here, because her attribute was destined to be restrained by the environment here. She had to use half of her strength to resist the heat, and Chun Zhao had hidden his strength very well. However, he was able to ignore his ice arrows and cold air, which meant that it would be very difficult for him to defeat him here. As for Bao and Vader, they were strengthened in this environment. However, they were still not strong enough. Moreover, they didn't have enough experience. It was too dangerous to fight someone like Chun Zhao. Are you an enemy? Of course not, Chun Zhao said. I have nothing to do with you. Of course, I have nothing to do with your enemies either. Vader, Bao, come here, Undine said. Vader and Bao ran to Undine. They had thought that Undine was going to fight Chun Zhao, but Undine turned around and led them away. However, Chun Zhao shamelessly followed them. Undine raised her bow and pointed at Chun Zhao. Sir, what do you mean? Nothing, I'm just lost, Chun Zhao said matter-of-factly. I have no obligation to lead the way. Undine's tone and attitude were still as unapproachable as before. Unfortunately, Chun Zhao was shameless. No matter what, he was determined to follow Undine. Whether she was willing to lead or not, Chun Zhao wasn't going to leave. Then let's go our separate ways. Somewhat annoyed, Undine shot an arrow at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao still easily caught the arrow. This time, his entire body was frozen. But in the blink of an eye, the ice on him shattered. Undine was even more annoyed. What exactly do you want? Mom, should we fight him? Bao and Vader were both warmongers, especially in this environment. The scorching heat seemed to ignite their fighting spirit and the blood in their bodies. Undine's eyes flickered. She was thinking about the chances of winning if the three of them fought Chun Zhao. But after thinking for a while, she quietly gave up on the idea. Judging from Chun Zhao's current abilities, even if they won, they might not be able to escape unscathed. Whether it was Bao or Vader, Undine didn't want to see either. Let's go. In the end, Undine decided not to care about Chun Zhao following them. On the other hand, Chun Zhao walked beside Undine as if they were familiar with each other. What abilities do you else have? Was the ice arrow you shot just now your ability? Chun Zhao was a curious baby. He was always curious about the unknown. I don't feel any magic from you. How do you control the power of the elements? Annoyed, Undine ignored Chun Zhao's question. But Bao explained to Chun Zhao enthusiastically. We elves are naturally close to the elements, Bao said. We don't control the elements. We communicate with them. Bao Undine scolded. Bao shrunk back and stuck out her tongue. Close to the elements? Communicate with the elements? Chun Zhao was even more curious. Should he catch an elf and study it? Just then, there was a sudden rumble in front of them. Was it an earthquake? Chun Zhao was confused. Undine suddenly jumped up. Vader followed closely behind. After jumping up, Bao immediately said to Chun Zhao, the surrounding elements tell us that there's lava flowing in our direction. As they spoke, the tumbling red current was already rushing toward them. Chun Zhao immediately jumped up and grabbed the rock wall. At the same time, Chun Zhao felt Undine's gaze. In that instant, Undine seemed to want to attack, but she gave up on the idea in the end. Undine, Bao and Vader jumped around on the rock wall as they advanced. Even Chun Zhao couldn't be as precise as them at every landing point. Even if it was a protrusion, they could grasp it fully. However, Chun Zhao was just pretending. He would advance the same way they advanced. Undine had been observing Chun Zhao in secret. She was a bit confused about how Chun Zhao did it. Compared to them, Chun Zhao's movements were rougher. Normally, he would have fallen into the lava long ago. Chapter 1565. The four jumped left and right and finally landed on a platform. There was a tunnel in the rock mass behind the platform. When Chun Zhao landed on the platform, he realized that the tunnel was man-made. The entrance was very spacious, and it looked like a big canyon. The lava river below illuminated the place very brightly. Undine glanced at Chun Zhao. She was very confused by his actions. Chun Zhao's actions had violated the laws of physics many times. Undine could roughly tell that Chun Zhao was an enhancer spiritualist, but there were differences even among enhancers. For example, an elite. More accurately, he was also an enhancer. Chun Zhao was also recalling what Undine and her mother and daughter had done just now. Even though Chun Zhao's physique was much better than theirs, he still couldn't copy their actions. Their actions were all calculated by human kinematics and footholds like computers. Even if Chun Zhao imitated most of the movements and footholds, he was just copying a tiger and a cat. He could learn the surface, but not the essence. Of course, this was an ability unique to elves. Chun Zhao wouldn't be discouraged even if he couldn't learn it. What would he do about their racial talents? Suddenly, there was a sound from the tunnel. There was a living thing in the tunnel. Just then, Chun Zhao pulled Bao violently. Before Bao could scold Chun Zhao, something flew past where she'd been standing. After missing its target, it flew more than 10 meters away. And there was a huge sound. It was like the power of a grenade explosion. In the darkness of the tunnel, there was some red light. The red light was probably the eye of some creature. It's the Abyss Nest Maker. Undine's expression was serious. At the same time, she couldn't help but glance at Chun Zhao. Clearly, she was worried that Chun Zhao would hurt her son and daughter. But Chun Zhao's actions just now had won her trust. Help me protect Vader and Bao. I'll go deal with that Abyss Nest Maker. Go in peace. I'll take care of your daughter. Chun Zhao looked at Undine seriously. Angered, Undine snorted coldly. Don't think I don't know what you mean in the East. Actually, I didn't mean anything else. Don't think too highly of yourself. Just then, the Abyss Nest Maker crawled out of the tunnel. It was a creature that looked like a spider. Of course, it was 10,000 times bigger than a spider. It was about 5 meters tall and had 6 furry limbs. However, from its head to its tail, it was covered with red eyes. Let's just call them eyes, and there were probably hundreds of them. It had a round and bulging belly, a raised tail, and there was even a hole at the end of it. Its mouth opened like a flower petal. So ugly, Chun Zhao couldn't help but complain. Both Vader and Bao agreed with this. Undine's expression was somewhat solemn as she raised her wooden bow. But before she could fire an arrow, the Abyss Nest Builder swung its tail, and a red orb shot at her. Bang! Undine quickly dodged the explosion and fired the arrow at the Abyssal Hive. The arrow was about to hit the Abyssal Nest Builder. However, the abyssal nest builder opened its mouth and spat out lava, which hit the arrow squarely. Undine cursed inwardly. Damn it! The abyssal nest dwellers were the most troublesome underground creatures for the elves. Their reactions were very fast, and the eyes on their backs were all compound eyes. Their compound eyes could capture any attack. They were even sharper than the fastest human cameras. Undine leaped from the rock wall to the sky above the abyssal nest builder. One had to admit that Undine's movements were very beautiful. Her fighting style was completely different from Chun Zhao's. When Chun Zhao attacked, most of the time, he was straightforward. However, the elves' fighting was like an art or a dance. Undine shot an arrow at the abyssal nest builder with her head down and feet up. The abyssal nest builder also bounced back, dodging Undine's arrow. At the same time, it hung on the wall. The abyssal nest builder moved up and down the wall. Chun Zhao started shooting at Undine. He realized that the coldness around Undine was getting weaker and weaker. Undine's attacks weren't as frequent either. Thinking about it, Chun Zhao knew the problem Undine was facing. He secretly used needle threading. An invisible thread wrapped around one of the abyssal nest builder's legs. Shocked, the abyssal nest builder tried to break free from the invisible thread. However, the tenacity of this thread far surpassed any metal. Undine's attack landed on the abyssal nest builder. The abyssal nest builder wanted to dodge, but one of its legs was tied up. It couldn't dodge Undine's attack no matter what. The arrow pierced through the abyssal nest builder's back. The abyssal nest builder's back was instantly frozen. Then, the other 5 limbs lost their grip too. It fell from the wall into the lava. Boom, boom, boom. Undine panted, her eyes revealing a trace of doubt. What was going on? Her attack, just now, was just a probing attack. The abyssal nest builder couldn't be hit at all. But why was the abyssal hive hit? It didn't make sense. The abyssal nest builder could totally dodge it. Undine recalled the abyssal nest builder's movements. It seemed to pause for a moment. Undine looked at Chun Zhao. You attacked just now. What? Chun Zhao pretended not to know. Nothing. Undine didn't ask. She didn't sense or see Chun Zhao's movements, but she felt that Chun Zhao had definitely attacked. Otherwise, she wouldn't have won so easily. Undine led the way into the tunnel. She'd used up a lot of power just now. In this environment, it was very difficult for her to recover through the elements. The surrounding elements were too restless. It wasn't suitable for her to recover at all. Sir, since you're a member of our team, shouldn't you show your value? Undine's power was greatly reduced now, but she didn't want her son and daughter to fight. After all, everything here was very dangerous, so she turned her attention to Chun Zhao. Tell me about elves, Chun Zhao said. What do you want to know about us? Everything. I'm quite interested in you guys. Chun Zhao didn't hide his intentions at all. And what's the water of enlightenment? Agonades, Undine said. That's our real name. It means son of nature. Elves are what humans call us. It comes from movies, games, and novels. I think Son of Element is more suitable for you. Chapter 1566. Undine shrugged. Armendadir is the elemental sun in Elvish. The water of enlightenment is Armendadir's blood. Undine paused for a moment before continuing. However, Armand Didier is the symbol of depravity. He is sinister, cunning, evil, and bloodthirsty. The Dark Elves were tempted by Armand Didier and drank his blood, thus becoming depraved. Chun Zhao frowned. Undine's words seemed to contradict herself. You said that the water of enlightenment can make elves evolve, and then you said that Armendadir's blood is the water of enlightenment. Then you said that the Dark Elves drank Armendadir's blood and became depraved. So, did the Dark Elves evolve or depraved? Chun Zhao raised his suspicions. Or maybe your ancestors were jealous of the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves evolved, but the other elves didn't. So they purposely divided and slandered the Dark Elves? Chun Zhao felt that this was possible. Wasn't this a classic case of envy, jealousy, and hatred? Of course it's not that simple, Undine said unhurriedly. At that time, there were no Dark Elves. At that time, the elves were still whole. Avendadir disguised himself as a sage and came to the elf clan. He used our kindness and trust to trick the entire elf clan into drinking his blood. It wasn't just the dark elves who drank it, but the entire elf clan. Undine slowly said, Avendadir descended 3,000 years ago. At that time, there were no dark elves. And then, later, some of them were tempted by Armandidir's blood and became his slaves. From then on, the elves split into the white elves and the dark elves. Under Armandidir's leadership, the dark elves started a war against the white elves. Who won in the end? Chun Zhao asked. Of course, we won. Light triumphed over darkness. Justice triumphed over evil. And Amanda Didier was sealed by us. Undine's tone was still cold, but there was a tinge of pride in her tone. Chun Zhao didn't agree with the so-called depravity. People's thoughts might change, but their personalities wouldn't. For example, the source of the depravity. He also had the ability to control others. But that was control, not depravity. Control and depravity were different. If there was really someone in the world who could make someone depraved, then that person could definitely rule the world. Take God, for example. In any mythological system, God was the most powerful existence. But could God change a person's thinking? If God could change everyone's mind, that way, he could directly turn all the humans in the world into his believers. Then God would not need to establish a religion. Of course, Chun Zhao wouldn't argue with Undine. After all, this story had been passed down for 3,000 years. It was clearly impossible for Chun Zhao to overturn 3,000 years of history with his own knowledge. So this is where Armand Didier was sealed. Yes, the ancestor of the white elves sealed Armandir here. The dark elves want to release Armandidir. The dark elves aren't stupid. If they release Amanda, they will only become his slaves again. The dark elves only want Amanda's blood, which is the water of enlightenment. I told you, I just want the water of enlightenment. I have no intention of releasing Amandadir, Lila Gavik said angrily. Do you think I'll believe you? Moscow Poole stared coldly at Lila Gavik. His eyes were filled with distrust and hatred. He knew Lila Gavik too well, a cunning old fox. Just like his master, Amandadir, they were both sinister and dangerous. Releasing Amandadir won't do me any good. I won't believe you. Lila Gavik sneered at Moscow Poole. You also want the water of enlightenment, right? You hypocrite. You keep saying that you're going to stop me, but ever since you met me, you've never really stopped me. Clearly, you want the water of enlightenment too. It's better than falling into your hands, Moscow Poole said calmly. Aren't you afraid of falling? Lila Gavi smiled strangely. I wonder if it would be interesting if a white elf like you, who thinks highly of yourself and is proud of your bloodline, degenerates into a bastard like me. Do you think this is the first time we white elves have come here? Moscow Poole sneered. Every generation, white elves will come here to extract the water of enlightenment. As the descendants of white elves, we won't be tainted by Amandadir's fallen will. Despicable. No wonder you white elves could awaken so many high-level bloodlines after so many generations. You've been hiding it all along. Lila Gavik was both angry and jealous. After all, the Dark Elves had spent hundreds of years just to find the entrance to the cave. Dark Elves didn't have a high-grade bloodline in every generation. For example, when Lila Gavik had taken over as the leader of the Dark Elves, he had only been an ordinary Dark Elf. The previous Dark Elven Patriarch was also a member of the Dark Elven race, with an ordinary bloodline. But the White Elves had always controlled this place. If they wanted to, they could come here at any time. Moreover, the White Elves had never lacked high-level bloodlines. Every generation had 3 or 4 High Elves. Lila Gavik and the other Dark Elves did not understand why. They thought it was because their bloodlines were pure. Only now did they understand that it wasn't because of the so-called bloodline. It was because they had been embezzling. They were both watchers and thieves. They claimed that Amandadir's blood would corrupt the elves. But they themselves had never stopped using Armandil's blood. Was there anyone more shameless than them in this world? Lila Gavik had never believed that story either, although the story was also spread among the Dark Elves. Lila Gavik believed that his will would not be tainted by the water of enlightenment. Lila Gavik looked at Moscow Pool. A smile appeared on his face. Have you used the water of enlightenment before? Moscow Pool looked at Lila Gavik. You know, the water of enlightenment can only be used once. It won't work the second time. I thought a piece of trash like you awakened a high-level bloodline with the water of enlightenment. You're not the only genius in this world. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Godly Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1567. Suddenly, Lila Gage and Moscow Pool stopped at the same time. In front of them was an empty field. Corpses of abyss nesters were everywhere. It seemed like a huge battle had taken place here. There were around 100 corpses. What's going on? Could it be Undine or the 2 children? Lila Gavich asked doubtfully. Moscow Pool shook his head. These abyss nesters aren't easy to deal with. Their abilities are very effective against elves. There's no way the 3 of them killed so many of them. Who else could it be other than the 3 of them? Moscow Pool and Lila Gavich discovered after a careful inspection that there was no sign of Messiah. There were many traces of the scene, some of which were obviously left by humans. There was also a magical aura at the scene. Spiritualist. Both of them came to the same conclusion. What's going on? Why is there a spiritualist here? Other than your own people. Why did you let outsiders in? No, why would I let outsiders in? Moscow Pool stared at Lila Gage. Then why are there outsiders here? Aren't you an outsider? When Lila Gavik heard what Moscow said, he was so angry that he almost started a fight with him. Still, Lila Gavik endured it. Don't you have any clues? No, I don't even know how they got here. Really? Lila Gavik didn't trust Moscow prior at all. I don't have to explain anything to you. There are quite a lot of them. They should have left in this direction. Lila Gage kept staring at Moscow Pool, paying attention to his expression. Moscow Pool hesitated for a while. Let's go and take a look, he said. Are they here for the water of enlightenment too? Lila Gavich asked in a probing manner. Moscow's expression changed slightly. Lila Gavik asked again, is our Menditor's seal in that direction? Mason didn't say anything else and headed straight in that direction. Gaia, will something happen to the president? No, we're all fine. Do you think Shun is worse than you? Although these words were hurtful, it was the truth. All of them combined weren't Shun Zhao's match. Suddenly, everyone stopped in their tracks. A lava river was blocking their way. On the opposite side of the lava river, there were 2 closed stone doors. That's right. It was a man-made stone door. Why is there a stone door? Could this be the treasure the guild leader mentioned? But how do we cross this river? Not everyone could fly, and not everyone could jump over a lava river that was more than 20 meters wide. Gaia thought for a moment and said, I'll drive you there. With that, Gaia transformed into a fire dragon and carried half of them over. Then, they would turn around and pick up the other half. Everyone stood in front of the 2 stone doors. The stone gate was very big, about 50 meters tall. It was also very beautiful. There were many cryptic patterns carved on the stone door. This kind of craftsmanship was a huge amount of work even in modern times. Moreover, looking at the traces of this stone door, it was obvious that it was not a product of this era. It was hard to imagine who the creator of this stone gate was. To be able to create such a stone door in such an underground place. How do we open it? Let me try. Gaia transformed back into a fire dragon. However, her 20-meter-long body seemed a little small in front of the 2 closed stone doors. Gaia used all her strength to hit the stone doors, but they didn't react at all. No, Gaia said, shaking her head. I can't open them with brute force. They were too heavy. The 2 stone doors weighed at least 1,000 tons. Gaia's strength was just a drop in the bucket for the 2 doors. Gaia, fly me up, Alice said. Huh? Did you find something? The patterns on it should be some kind of magic circuit, Alice said. Because the stone doors were too tall and big, Alice couldn't see everything. Gaia carried Alice and flew to the top of the stone doors. Eris began to study the lines on it. I understand. Alice quickly understood. Can you open these 2 doors? No problem. They look huge, but they're actually not that complicated, Alice said. Alice said, The maker of these two stone doors isn't an expert in magic. Alyssa sounded quite proud. Of course, she'd have a right to be proud. She might not be the most powerful in the association, but she was definitely the most knowledgeable in magic, and it covered a lot of areas. Alyssa returned to the ground. She looked around again. Finally, she pointed at the lava river not far away and said, "Do you see the valve at the edge of the lava river? Open it." Unelite stepped forward and opened the valve. The valve was a small mechanism, but it was not too complicated. After the valve was opened, the lava flowed into a ditch. Then it flowed along the ditch to the middle of the stone doors. The patterns on the stone doors began to light up. Crack, boom, boom. The stone doors began to make loud grinding sounds. Everyone took a step back. After all, the two stone doors were too big. Even just opening them gave them the feeling of a landslide. Facing these two stone doors, everyone felt how insignificant they were. However, when the two stone doors opened to their fullest, they began to close again. Go in, or they'll close. Everyone hurried through the stone doors. Fortunately, the stone doors didn't close too quickly. After everyone went in, the stone doors were still slowly closing. The lava from before was still flowing along the ditch. At the same time, it illuminated the passage behind the stone doors. There were many corpses on the ground, and many metal statues were placed on both sides. "Wow, these are saint carvings," Ruan Faxben exclaimed. Ruan Faxi exclaimed, "The method of making the saint carving has long been lost. I didn't expect to see it again here." Saint carvings? Everyone looked at Ruan Faxben in confusion. Ruan Faxben said with a regretful expression, "Unfortunately, the chairman isn't here. Otherwise, he could bring all these statues back. What a pity." These statues were all 5 meters tall and had different postures. They weighed at least a few tons. Even Gaia couldn't carry them around all the time. Ruan Faxi had been studying the statues for a while, unwilling to leave it all. "Ruan, how long are you going to stay here?" Chapter 1568. Just then, Moore suddenly saw a line of words at the base of the statue, but he didn't understand what it said. Mole reached out to touch the words on the base, but he erased the words instead. Crack! Suddenly, the statue in front of Moore moved. "Huh? This statue seems to be moving." Moore looked up at the tall statue in front of him. "Of course, what? Moore, get out of the way!" Ruan Faxben yelled. At that moment, the statue in front of Mo-Air suddenly raised its great sword and slashed down at Mo-Air's head. Whoosh! Moore didn't react in time, but an elite charged forward. He dodged Moore in the blink of an eye, but everyone saw that one of Angelite's arms was cut off. Unelite fell to the ground, screaming. "Unelite!" everyone exclaimed. Just then, the statue raised its great sword and slashed at Unelite again. Boom! Jalanash also made her move. The statue was too close to Unelite and more. She used a wind elemental spell, Violent Blast. The statue, which was several meters tall and weighed several tons, was blown several meters away and fell to the ground. Moraz went up to stop Angelite's bleeding and then gave him a wound suppression. The statue stood up again. This time, Gaia pulled out her great sword and blocked the statue's attack. The passage was large, but it couldn't allow Gaia to transform. But even if she didn't transform, she could still block the statue's attack. "Gaia, you have to destroy it completely," Ruan Faxben said. "There's a core hidden in its body. You have to break its core. Otherwise, it won't stop," Ruan Faxben said. "Where's the core?" "Not necessarily. It could be anywhere." Gaia slashed with her greatsword, and the statue was sent flying again. The greatsword was also broken by Gaia. However, when the divine carving statue stood up again, the broken sword was like a magnet, returning to the fracture, and the crack healed. "What kind?" Gaia asked. "I don't know. This is the first time I've seen a statue." Boom! Boom! Jalanash covered for Gaia and shot out 2 exploding flames. The statue's body was completely unharmed. The statue's body was made of metal. Jalanash's explosive bombs were powerful, but their destructive power against metal was limited. Gaia swung his greatsword, leaving a fiery arc in the air as he slashed down heavily. The saint carving statue's body was directly cut off from the shoulder. But the statue's severed body was like its sword before, mending itself. Gaia frowned. There was no end to this fight. Lava! Push it into the lava! Cried Ruan Faxaben. Gaia, move! Jalanash yelled. Gaia trusted Jalanash and backed away. Jalanash unleashed another violent impact. The statue was knocked into the wall, and then fell into the lava. But soon it stood up again. But how could Gaia give it a chance? The greatsword swung out and cut off the statue's legs. After losing its main body, the statue's legs quickly melted into the magma. Under Gaia's suppression, the sculpture soon melted completely. Whoosh! More! Did you erase the words under the statue? Ruan Faxaben asked in an interrogative tone. Moore knew that he was in trouble. Not only did he almost die under the statue's sword, but he also caused an elite to lose an arm. He even caused an elite to lose an arm. Moore opened his mouth and then lowered his head silently. He didn't say anything else. Okay, now's not the time to blame. Raz, can you reattach Angelite's arm? Moore Raz shook his head. Angelite's wound has magic damage on it. Moore Raz also blamed herself. As a support, she should have protected her teammates at all times. But it had happened so suddenly that she couldn't react in time. This made her very depressed. Maybe the president has a way. Gaia nodded. She knew that now was definitely not the time to blame. Chun Zhao wasn't here, so she had to calm the team down. Okay, let's continue, Gaia said. Unelite, I'll carry you. Unelite shook his head. The wound was still painful, but with Moore Raz's help, he could barely hold on. No need. I can walk myself. Gaia was the absolute main force in the team now. If Gaia carried him, her combat ability would be greatly reduced. Don't worry, Gaia said. Chun will find a way to heal your broken arm. I really should buy insurance for myself. Unelite said, his face pale. As soon as this sentence was said, everyone's mood also eased. Unelite, I'm sorry. It's all my fault, Moore said, lowering his head in shame. It's okay. I can run faster without an arm. The more Unelite comforted him, the worse Moore felt. Ruan, as long as we don't erase the words on the base, the statues won't be activated, right? The words on the statues are ancient magic. They mean to stop. If you erase the words, they'll definitely be activated. Unless they're completely destroyed, they'll keep attacking the surrounding creatures. Apart from erasing the words, there's another set of rules. As long as the conditions are met, the statues will also be activated. What conditions? I don't know, Ruan said. It depends on how the owner of the statues set it. In other words, we have to be careful at all times. We don't know when the statues will be activated. Yes. Then, everyone passed through the tunnel. They found that both sides of the tunnel were filled with statues. There were at least hundreds of statues along the way. It was like an army. This also made everyone's hearts jump. No one knew whether or not these saint carvings would suddenly awaken. One statue was already so difficult to deal with. If all the statues woke up at the same time, they would die for sure. Even Gaia, who had always been bold, felt her heart pounding. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they finally reached the end of the tunnel. Then their eyes lit up. An incomparably spacious field appeared in front of them. The field was at least 3 square kilometers. In the center was a circular field. Magma flowed around the field. Further away, there were rock pillars of different heights. It's so big. Please remember this book's domain name. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1569. The sports field was surrounded by saint carvings. At the other end of the field was a mountain wall. There was a stone sculpture of a ferocious-looking dragon head on the wall. The dragon's neck extended to the center of the field like an arch bridge. Below the dragon head was a trough. Water flowed from the dragon's mouth and filled the trough in the middle. This water is so sweet. Jalanash took a sip. At this moment, everyone felt a little thirsty. Although they were protected by armor or magic dragon scales, they still felt the heat. Don't drink it yet. Let me see if it's drinkable. Ruan Faxaben stepped forward and filled a bottle with some water. Then he took out some magic powder and sprinkled it into the bottle. The water in the bottle began to boil. Ruan Faxaben was chanting a magic spell. The water in the bottle calmed down again. It should be fine, Rowan Faxben said. What spell is this? What does it do? This is pure, true spirit spell. If the food or water is harmful to the human body, there will be a warning, Rowan Faxben said. Rowan Faxben said, since there's no warning, it should be harmless to humans. But just then, Jalanash, who had just taken a sip of water, began to tremble all over. Jalanash, what's wrong? Moraz realized that something was wrong with Jalanash. I. Jalanash's body trembled even more violently. Her eyes seemed to be covered in a layer of ink. I feel like Jalanash's head drooped before she could finish her sentence. Moraz saw Jalanash's strangeness and hurried over to support her. Rowan, didn't you say that the water was fine? What's going on? Gaia asked angrily. I don't know either. Rowan Faxben was speechless too. He didn't understand why the pure, true spirit spell failed either. Suddenly, Jalanash raised her head. Her face was covered in black lines. By now, everyone had realized that something had happened to Jalanash. Jalanash suddenly reached out and grabbed Moraz. Jalanash let go. Moraz cried out in pain. Gaia immediately rushed forward, grabbed Jalanash's arm, and forcefully pulled Moraz away. But Jalanash aimed her palm at Gaia's chest. Bang! Gaia was sent flying more than 10 meters away. No one expected Jalanash to be so heavy-handed on Gaia. Gaia stood up, her chest a bloody mess. Gaia spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was extremely pale. Everyone's hair stood on end as they looked at Jalanash warily. At this time, Jalanash flew into the air and landed on the dragon's head. None of them noticed that there was a magic array on top of the dragon's head. Jalanash released black flames from her palms towards the magic circle. When the black flames landed on the magic array, they didn't explode. Instead, they were absorbed by the magic array. Suddenly, one of the saint carvings around him became familiar. Oh no, the saint carving statue. Wait, the statues aren't coming for us. Rowan Faxi realized that the statue actually passed through the crowd and jumped up when it got close to Jalanash, who was at the head of the dragon. Looking at the statue, Jalanash raised one hand and spat out black flames at the statue. Bang! The statue instantly shattered in the air. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Was Jalanash that powerful? Why didn't she use it just now? After the statue shattered in the air, it didn't recover. Jalanash continued with her work. What's Jalanash doing? I don't know. I feel like something bad is about to happen. Should we stop her? Stop? How? Jalanash doesn't even recognize us now. Even if we defeat her, what then? Kill her? Everyone's expression was grim. At this time, 2 more holy statues awakened. These 2 statues were just like the first one. They ignored everyone and attacked Jalanash directly. Jalanash still only used one hand. The remnants of the 2 statues fell to the ground. Jalanash, what's wrong with you? Wake up, Giselle called anxiously. She looks like she's being controlled by something, Gaia said with a serious expression. Purify. Moraz cast a purification spell on Jalanash. But Jalanash didn't react. Instead, she raised her hand and released a black flame at Moraz. Watch out! Angalit, who had lost his arm, hurriedly grabbed Moraz and escaped before the black flames reached them. Jalanash, how did you become like this? Wake up. She's being controlled. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Everyone turned around abruptly and saw 2 strangers standing behind them. One was tall and skinny, the other a fat man with a big belly. Who are you? I should be the one asking you this. Who are you people? Why did you barge in here? Mason stared at the crowd coldly. I think it's best if you kill her now instead of arguing here. Otherwise, we'll all die. Lila Gavich looked at Jalanash's back, his eyes filled with worry. We won't kill our companions. Companions? She's no longer your companion, Lila Gavich said meaningfully. Lila Gavich said meaningfully. She has now become Amanda Didier's puppet. Armand Didier, the legendary son of Element? Alice asked. Alice, do you know what's going on? No. Alice shook her head. I only know of Amanda Deer, the legendary Son of Element. Many elemental mages use the name of the Son of Element to cast many spells. At this time, for more statues awakened. Just like before, their target was Jalanash. Everyone looked at Lila Gavik and Mosco Pool. Sirs, you'd better tell us what's going on. As you can see, the dragonhead is the son of elemental Armand Deer. He has been sealed here for 3,000 years, Mosco said. What about you? Who are you? The protector of this place, Mason said. At the same time, he's also a burglar, Lila Gavik added. Chapter 1570. While they were talking, another 8 statues woke up. Gaia looked at Jalanash and turned around. Is there any way to wake her up other than killing her? No, not just her. Her descendants will be cursed by Armand Didier as well. Mosco Pool pointed at Lila Gavik. Just like this bastard. Lila Gavik glanced at Mosco. You better not challenge my bottom line now. Wah. Gaia spat out another mouthful of blood. Malraz hurried over to heal Gaia. By then, Jalanash had already dealt with the 8 statues. Then, the 16 statues woke up. This time, Jalanash wouldn't be able to deal with them so easily. With one hand, Jalanash continued to charge the magic circle on the dragon's head as she fought back against the statues. Klaus, do you have tranquilizer bullets? Yes. Take Jalanash down, Gaia said. Klaus took out the tranquilizer gun and its bullets. From dozens of meters away, he aimed at Jalanash. Whoosh! However, when the tranquilizer bullet was less than a meter away from Jalanash, it suddenly stopped in the air. Jalanash looked at everyone, her expression becoming even more ferocious. She spread her arms, releasing a terrifying wave of air from her body. The shock wave abruptly spread out like water ripples in all directions. *T. Moraz hurriedly cast an AoE Holy Barrier. When the wave reached everyone, they felt that the barrier was about to shatter. Malraz cast another Holy Barrier on them, and another one. After 3 buffs, they finally managed to hold on. However, the wave didn't stop. It continued to spread to the edge. The surrounding saint carvings were all affected by the shockwave. The moment they were touched by the wave, they all disintegrated. However, Jalanash seemed to be much weaker after using her ultimate move. Jalanash fell from the dragon's head and landed in the middle of the sink. We can't let her replenish her power. We have to stop her, Mosco said. With that, Mason swung his arms at Jalanash, throwing 2 daggers at her. The water trough beneath Jalanash's feet kept sending energy into her body. As for the 2 daggers flying towards her, she completely ignored them. Just like before, there seemed to be an invisible shield around Jalanash. Lila Gavik, are you going to stand aside and watch? Mosco Pool scolded. Lila Gage hesitated for a moment, then finally decided to act. Lila Gage walked towards Jalanash. Jocelyn Nash raised her hand and pointed it at Lila Gage. But in the next moment, she hesitated. After a while, Jalanash put down her palm. When Lila Gavik was 2 meters away from Jalanash, she stopped. Jalanash suddenly sensed Lila Gavik's hostility. In an instant, Jalanash attacked Lila Gavik. Black flames burst out of Jalanash's palm. Lila Gage immediately hid in the shadows, grabbing towards Jalanash at the same time. But the moment Lila Gavik grabbed Jalanash's wrist, he felt a sharp burning pain in his palm. Lila Gage hurriedly stepped back, clutching her wrist in pain. Jalanash grabbed in the air from 3 to 4 meters away. Lila Gage immediately sensed danger. An extremely dark power surged towards her from all directions. Lila Gage's scalp was about to explode. Shadow. Luckily, shadow could be used. The hand of darkness missed. Lila Gavik turned and ran. By then, the water trough beneath Jalanash's feet had already dried up. Jalanash's aura became even more terrifying. She returned to the dragon's head and continued to charge the magic circle. Rumble. The ground started shaking slightly. We can't let this go on. We have to stop her. Mosco Pool yelled. If Amanda breaks free from the seal, all of us will die. Mosco Pool looked at Gaia and the others. What about you? Gaia's expression darkened. You don't have to do it, I'll do it. Gaia, your injuries haven't healed yet, Raz said. It's okay. Your magic has helped me recover a lot. That's not healing, it's just suppressing my injuries. It's okay. Gaia shook her head. Then, she took a few steps forward. Roar! In an instant, Gaia turned into a 20-meter-long fire dragon. Lila Gage and Moscow Poole stared at Gaia, dumbfounded, their faces filled with disbelief. Jalanash looked at Gaia and raised her arm to aim at her. Whoosh! Black flames shot towards Gaia again. Gaia rose into the air, dodging the black flames. However, Gaia had no choice but to avoid the black flames. At the same time, he aimed at Jalanash and spat out a mouthful of dragon breath. The dragon breath landed in front of Jalanash. Although it didn't hurt her, she took a few steps back. Jalanash had to stop charging the magic circle as well. That's amazing. Lila Gavik and Moscow Poole looked at each other. Jalanash's expression was completely twisted. This time, she changed her tactic. She raised her arms high, and a black sphere appeared above her head. The black sphere suddenly exploded, turning into countless small balls that shot in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. After the small black balls spread to the surrounding space, they exploded again. Gaia was too big and couldn't avoid all the black balls. In an instant, black flames erupted from Gaia's body. Gaia let out a dragon roar and landed heavily on the ground. But then, Gaia stood up again. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind Jalanash. Ungalit had appeared there at some point. But the moment Ungalit got close to Jalanash, he was blocked by an invisible barrier around her. Ungalit instantly fled from that spot. Jalanash's eyes were pitch black and emotionless. She pointed in the direction Ungalit escaped and pointed with her finger. Holy Light Barrier. Raz immediately cast a Holy Light Barrier on Ungalit. But the Holy Light Barrier was instantly broken. Angelite's shoulder was pierced by the black light. He rolled on the ground a few times. Klaus, cover me, Moore said in a low voice. Moore's clone had already secretly appeared on the dragon's neck and was carefully reaching for Jalanash. Klaus and the others also fired wildly at Jalanash. Chapter 1571. Da-da-da. Klaus and the lightning squad fired at Jalanash. Under their fire, ripples appeared around Jalanash. Jalanash looked at Klaus and the others. She was about to attack Klaus when Moore's clone pounced. Boom! This was a spell Moore had just learned, self-destruct. Now Moore didn't need to carry a bag of explosives every time he used a clone. Moore's self-destruct spell was quite powerful. The explosion was equivalent to a kilogram of yellow explosives. But the moment the explosion spread, it contracted violently. That feeling was like a movie being played backwards. After the flames disappeared, Jalanash stood in the same spot, unharmed. Everyone's expression turned solemn. Such a terrifying explosion had no effect on Jalanash. Jalanash continued to charge the magic circle. The terrifying atmosphere continued to spread. Everyone felt an indescribable sense of despair in their hearts. Just then, Gaia stood up again. Roar! Jalanash shot black flames at Gaia from her palm. Gaia also breathed dragon breath at the same time. Two flames, one black and one red, met in the air. Klaus took out his sniper rifle and pointed at Jalanash, but he lowered the muzzle slightly. Bang! The power of a large-caliber sniper rifle was extraordinary. Jalanash's body trembled slightly. Although it wasn't a big impact, it did affect her a little. Ungalit also climbed up at this time. His shoulder was bleeding profusely. Raz threw a healing spell and a holy barrier to Ungalit from a distance. Ungalit closed in on Jalanash again. Angelite's attack power wasn't strong, but it didn't mean he was defenseless. Angelite's dagger stabbed out dozens of times in an instant. And every time, it was at the same spot. Klaus's eyes glinted. He swung his sniper rifle and fired a bullet. Bang! The bullet hit the spot where Ungalit had attacked. The bullet pierced Jalanash's protective shield and hit her shoulder at the same time. Jalanash took a few steps back. Her shoulder was badly mangled. They were still companions. Klaus hadn't aimed at Jalanash's vitals. If it had been any other position, a sniper rifle bullet would have been enough to tear his body apart. Even heavily injured, Jalanash remained expressionless. But at this time, Gaia's dragon breath had already shot over. Bang! The impact of the explosion was shocking, but the result was the same as Mo Air's self-destruction. But everyone saw clearly how Jalanash did it. She opened her mouth and sucked in the dragon breath. Everyone's expression froze. Is that even possible? The wound on Jalanash's shoulder was healing at a visible rate. This was a heavy blow to everyone. The damage they had dealt to Jalanash with all their might had lost its effect in the blink of an eye. At that moment, a large number of saint carvings began to pour out of the tunnel. All of the divine carvings awakened. Their target was also very clear. It was Jolene Nash. There was a huge number of them, at least 500 of them. Furthermore, every single one of them was extremely powerful. Guya's heart stirred, and he spat out dragon breath again. She did not hope to defeat Jalanash, but at least to restrain her. But this time, Jalanash did not intend to take it at all. Jalanash clenched her fists, and a pair of giant black palms appeared out of thin air. One of the black palms blocked Guya's dragon breath. The other clenched fist smashed towards Guya. Guya was smashed heavily and was flung dozens of meters away. The pair of black palms was so powerful that the saint carvings could not even reach the center of the square. With just the palms, it was like swatting flies. Every time the black palms landed, dozens of them would be flattened. This lethality, this speed of killing, no matter how many saint carvings there were, they could not withstand being killed. Everyone was in despair. Right now, Jalanash could not be defeated at all, and Jalanash did not care about the incoming saint carvings at all. She continued with her work. Everyone felt as if a rock was pressing down on their hearts. The rocks around the dragon's head and neck were crumbling. Just then, Dragon's eyes lit up. It was a pair of turbid eyes. Just looking into those eyes sent chills down everyone's spine. Mesco Poole and Lila Gavik looked at each other. At this moment, there was no hostility between them. There was only despair. Rumble. Just then, a few hills outside the square suddenly exploded. Then, huge figures rushed out from the ruins of the hills. Dragons. There were 4 dragons, red, white, yellow, and azure. Everyone was shocked by this sudden turn of events. They were real dragons. Its huge body was like a small mountain. They exuded a suffocating dragon's aura. No one knew if these 4 dragons were friends or foes. If they were enemies, then it was all over. One Jalanash was already too much for them to handle. Now that there were 4 more dragons, they were no match for them. However, if they were friends, maybe things would turn around. The 4 dragons circled around in the air for a while. The red dragon saw Gaia and landed beside Gaia. Then, it transformed into a tall woman of the same build. Descendant of our race, I never thought there would be descendants of our race in the human world. This fire dragon woman was even taller than Guya. When she mentioned Guya, everyone immediately tensed up. What are you doing? Everyone looked at the fire dragon woman warily. Don't you want me to save her? The power of darkness is killing her life. Hearing this woman's words, everyone stopped in their tracks. The woman sent her power into Guya's body, and Guya's wounds began to heal slowly. Seeing that Guya was recovering and that the woman didn't hurt him, everyone sighed in relief. At this moment, the yellow, white, and azure dragons in the sky dove at Jalanash. Rumble. At this moment, the rocks under Jalanash's feet suddenly cracked. A bloody mouth suddenly shot up into the sky and bit the yellow dragon in one bite. Roar. The 100-meter-long yellow dragon's body was directly torn apart by that bloody mouth. Everyone's heart went cold, their faces full of fear. That was a dragon. That was a 100-meter-long dragon, and it was killed in one move, just like that. The rocks completely cracked, and Amanda Didier finally broke free from the seal. Just the exposed dragon head and neck were already 100 meters long. His entire body was probably over 300 meters long. This was a real giant. Chapter 1572. Amanda chewed on a third of the yellow dragon's body and swallowed it. As if that wasn't enough, Amanda Dill lowered his head and stuffed the rest of the yellow dragon into his mouth as well. At this time, the rock wall connected to Amanda Dill's neck also began to crack. He had finally broken free from the seal. At this moment, everyone clearly saw Amanda Dill's true body. Amanda Dill was also a dragon, but he didn't have wings. He looked like a lizard. Maybe the salamanders that were wreaking havoc here had something to do with him. Amanda Dill's body was mainly black. However, there were delicate red, green, blue, and gray patterns on the black scales. His front limbs were ridiculously thick and strong, unlike ordinary giant dragons whose limbs were more well-proportioned. His hind limbs were longer, making him look like a bodybuilder who had trained too much. However, in everyone's eyes, he looked more like a deformed monster. He didn't have wings on his back, but he had a pair of huge bone spikes. His tail, which was dozens of meters long, also had a row of bone spikes of different lengths. The three dragons also changed their expressions. Suddenly, Amanda Dill swung his tail at the white dragon. The white dragon dodged immediately, but the bone spikes on Amanda Dill's tail cut through the white dragon's wings. The white dragon, which had just risen into the air, crashed to the ground. Amanda Dill lunged at the white dragon in a frenzy. Roar! The white dragon screamed in pain. Amanda Dill had already bitten its neck. With a crack, it was broken. The red dragon and the green dragon, who had returned to their dragon forms, breathed out at the same time. They wanted to stop Amanda Dill from devouring their companion. However, Amanda Didier simply turned a blind eye to the two dragons' dragon breaths. He devoured the white dragon's body in a frenzy. Everyone was trembling under Amanda Dill's terrifying aura. He was the embodiment of madness. "I'm so happy. You even prepared food for me when I broke the seal." After eating the white dragon, Amanda Dill turned his eyes to the red and green dragons. His teeth were far more developed than normal dragons. His physique was also several times that of normal dragons. Everyone could feel a torrential aura emanating from his body. It was the same for the red and green dragons. However, they did not flee. They were still trying to hurt Amanda Dill. However, Amanda Deer's thick dragon scales were so powerful that they felt despair. Amanda Deer's hind legs kicked hard, and it pounced towards the gathering red. The red dragon tried to escape, but Amanda Didier was too fast. His strength and speed completely suppressed the red dragon. Armand Dill grabbed the red dragon with his forelegs. Roar! The red dragon struggled, but Amanda Didier's power made it impossible for her to resist. Amanda Didier pulled hard, and one of the red dragon's wings was torn off. The red dragon screamed. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. But against such a prehistoric monster, they were powerless. In the beginning, they thought that the appearance of the four giant dragons would bring about a turning point. However, they found that the four dragons could do nothing against Amanda Didier. In fact, they were only here to deliver food. They could only watch as Amanda Didier ravaged the red dragon, but there was nothing they could do. Amanda Didier tore off the red dragon's flesh piece by piece and stuffed it into his mouth. Blood splattered on the square. Finally, the red dragon lost its vitality. Amanda Didier nibbled away at the remaining flesh of the red dragon. The green dragon tried to resist one last time, but there was no effect. Amanda Didier ate the red dragon unhurriedly. He was not in a hurry to fight back against the green dragon. Undine looked at the two huge stone doors before her. Chun Zhao kept looking at them. "You elves are really awesome," he said, sighing. "You can even do such a huge project, and it was 3,000 years ago. Mom, how do I open these doors?" "I don't know." Undine shook her head. Chun Zhao walked up and forcefully pushed open the two stone doors. A human-sized gap appeared in the stone door. Undine looked at Chun Zhao in surprise. "You can do that? Hurry up. Don't drag your feet. These doors are heavy." Actually, the doors weren't as heavy as they thought. They only weighed about 2,000 tons. This weight was quite light for Chun Zhao. Undine, Bader, and Bao hurriedly passed through the doors. Only then did Chun Zhao rush in before the doors closed. Rumble. Just then, there was a huge sound in front of them. The passageway behind the stone door trembled, and the gravel above them fell continuously. "Hurry up," Undine said. "The tunnel looks like it's going to collapse." The four of them scampered forward. However, when they ran through the passageway, they saw an unbelievably large beast devouring a green dragon. "Wow, did I miss something?" Chun Zhao exclaimed. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao. When the members of the association saw Chun Zhao, they couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Amanda Didier glanced at Chun Zhao's group. "A few more are here to die. My servants, go kill them. A few more have come to die. My servants, go and kill them." He clearly wasn't interested in these humans. They weren't even enough for him. Chun Zhao looked at Jalanash, who was floating in the air. Chun Zhao looked at Jalanash, who was floating in the air. "Air, can someone explain to me if that's Jalanash?" "President, Jalanash is being controlled," Ruan Faxben said. Chun Zhao took off his helmet and waved at Jalanash. "Jalanash, it's me. Do you recognize me?" Lila Gavik and Moscow Pearl looked at him in surprise. How could it be him? Were these people his subordinates? Just then, Jalanash raised her arms and pointed at him. "Watch out," Lila Gavik shouted. They had suffered at Jalanash's hands. They knew exactly how scary Jolene Nash was. Who? Black flames shot toward Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao raised his hand, and the black flames charged at him. The power of this flame seemed to be very ordinary, not even as hot as the magma. However, these black flames seemed to have some sort of corrosive power. Unfortunately, it was also of little threat to Chun Zhao. Everyone realized that Jalanash's ultimate move didn't seem to work on Chun Zhao. "Jalanash, if you do this again, I'll spank you." Jalanash's black flames suddenly paused. Her face finally showed some expression. However, she seemed to be in great pain. The next moment, her painful expression disappeared. She was just as expressionless as before. Please remember this book's domain name, Nine Heavens Godly Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1573. Lila Gavik and Moscow Pool were speechless. "Spank her? You have to be able to do that." "President, it's useless. Jalanash doesn't seem to have her own consciousness." "Think of something," Moraz said. Chun Zhao was in a difficult position. He definitely couldn't kill Jalanash. Not in this lifetime. "Do you have any way to make my subordinates wake up?" Chun Zhao asked. He, human, kill me and she'll wake up." Amanda Didier had already eaten the last of the green dragons. "I see." Chun Zhao touched his chin. "Then I'll kill you." Everyone thought that Chun Zhao was crazy. Even the members of the association didn't have much confidence in Chun Zhao now. They'd seen with their own eyes how terrifying and crazy Amanda Didier was. The four dragons were like little pets in front of him. "Before that, you'll have to defeat my slave first," Amanda Didier said in a mocking tone. Chun Zhao looked at Jalanash and threaded the needle. The invisible thread wrapped around Jalanash's body. Jalanash instantly fell from the sky and was dragged in front of Chun Zhao. Everyone was stunned. How did Chun Zhao do it? Chun Zhao didn't even move. How did he catch Jalanash? Lila Gavik and Moscow Prior were both shocked and bewildered. After all, they had been beaten up badly by Jalanash before. But Chun Zhao had caught Jalanash so easily. Were they cheating? Both of them were very disappointed. If Chun Zhao could find something, Amanda Didier wouldn't have broken the seal. Now that Amanda Didier had broken free from the seal, it was too late. Surprise flashed in Undine's eyes. She thought back to the Abyss Nestmaker she'd encountered before. The Abyssal Nestmaker's movements seemed to be restrained by an invisible force. It seemed that Chun Zhao had really helped him in secret that time. Chun Zhao used the invisible thread to lift Jalanash before him and patted her face. "Jalanash, wake up." "President, it's useless." "Jalanash can't wake up," Ungalit said. "Ungalit, you're your shoulder? Was it done by this ugly guy?" Chun Zhao's anger was full. He looked up at Amanda Didier. "Very well, you've angered me. Very imposing, but..." Amanda Didier's huge claw slapped Chun Zhao's head. "But it's nothing before me." Rumble. Everyone's expression froze. Was it over? Just like that? Hearing Chun Zhao's confident tone, they had thought that Chun Zhao had some ability. In the end, he was slapped to death by Armand Didier. Roar. Suddenly, Amanda Deer let out a strange cry and quickly retreated. His left forearm was bloody. Chun Zhao was hugging a thick pillar. The black pillar was Armand Dill's toe. Chun Zhao threw the claw into the dark lava. Chun Zhao instinctively liked it, just like when he encountered Mikados and his army of dead fetus monsters. Everyone stared at Chun Zhao, dumbfounded. Their expressions were completely frozen. Did Chun Zhao pull off Amanda Dill's toe? How is that possible? Looks like you taste good, Chun Zhao said, grinning. I'm going to kill you. Furious, Amanda Deer swung his huge claw again. This time, he didn't attack recklessly. He attached dark power to his claw. Chun Zhao wasn't afraid at all. Fist. A green fist whizzed out. Boom! Amanda Deer took a step back. Undine, Bauer, and Bader's eyes almost popped out. Along the way, they only had one impression of Chun Zhao. That was nagging. Apart from nagging, Chun Zhao didn't show any power at all. But now, they realized that Chun Zhao just didn't show it. When Chun Zhao truly showed it, it was a frightening power. Human, you actually made me retreat. You're not bad, but it's not enough. Far from enough. Do you think you could defeat me just like that? You're too naive. You don't understand what you're facing. I'm a demigod. Not enough. Clone, all powers return to one. You could try now. Chun Zhao widened his eyes. Flames seemed to shoot out of them. I'll smash your head. Rumble. Amanda Deer's tail swung over. Chun Zhao was lifted into the air and smashed heavily into the wall outside the square. Everyone felt a piercingly cold, tearing sensation as the wind whistled past them. Is that all you have? Chun Zhao stood up from the rubble again. Die. Amanda Didier suddenly opened his mouth and black flames shot toward Chun Zhao. Amanda Deer's black flames weren't the same as Jaw and Ashes. It was more than 100 times more powerful. Shut your dog mouth. Chun Zhao punched again. The solid fist went against the black flames and smashed into Amanda Deer's mouth. Uffed. The teeth in Amanda Deer's mouth were so tight that they almost broke. His huge body was forced to take several steps back. Demigod or God are just self-titled titles. You're a demigod? Chun Zhao patted the black flames on his body. I can kill a dozen of you even with my eyes closed. Amanda Deer spat out a mouthful of blood and a few broken teeth. His expression became even more savage and furious. Human, you succeeded. You've successfully angered me. I've always been very successful at angering people. Chun Zhao shrugged. I'm going to eat you. On this point, we have a common understanding. I also want to eat you. Amanda Deer's front limbs smashed into the ground. The entire square shook. Do you really think you can beat me? I really do, Chun Zhao said matter-of-factly. Chun Zhao strolled toward Amanda Deer. Amanda Deer didn't dare to be careless now. He hadn't used his full strength in the exchange just now, but he could feel Chun Zhao's threat. Chun Zhao's ferocious eyes flashed. Before I kill you, I have one last question for you. I'll allow you to ask me one last question before you die. Are you Hyperion? What? Amanda Deer froze. But Chun Zhao's attack had already arrived. Fist shadows, storm. Without holding back, Chun Zhao poured out all the immortal power in his body. Chapter 1574. The first punch landed on Amanda Didier's chin. Dragon blood spurted out of Amanda Didier's mouth. Before he could react, an even more brutal attack was already upon him. Everyone was watching, and the shock in their hearts could not be any greater. Chun Zhao's every punch tore through a piece of flesh. His fists were also so fast that no one could see them clearly. Bang! The bone spur on Amanda Didier's back that looked like a triangular blade had already shattered under Chun Zhao's attacks. Chun Zhao dashed over and broke the bone spur with one punch. Then he grabbed it and pressed it down. Amanda Didier's body was pierced by his own bone spur. Roar! The sky fell and the ground cracked. Amanda Didier's roar caused the ground to shake. Amanda Didier slapped his claws at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao turned around and punched. Amanda Didier's claws shattered. Chun Zhao jumped onto Amanda Didier's head. Grabbing two protruding horns, he pressed his body down. Amanda Didier's huge head smashed onto the ground. Everyone stayed far away from him. The shockwaves from the battle between the two could kill them. Chun Zhao started smashing down on Amanda Didier's head. Roar, stop! Stop! I'll dispel. I said I'd smash your head, so I'll do it. Chun Zhao's tone was fierce. Bang! Chun Zhao punched down and Amanda Didier's head smashed onto the ground again. Blood spurted out of his mouth, nose, and eyes. The shockwaves spread in all directions. The power of this punch was more than a few 100,000 tons. It was easy to imagine how great the impact was. The original circular plaza had already been completely destroyed. Chun Zhao's dark lava couldn't devour Amanda Didier's body completely. His body was simply too huge. So, Chun Zhao planned to dismember him. Amanda Didier's life force was too tenacious. Chun Zhao broke his neck, but he wasn't dead yet. Whoosh! Ruan Faxi was resisting the waves of attacks that were whistling towards him. Behind him, Moraz kept putting light barriers on him. President, leave some for us, Ruan Faxibin shouted. Originally, he had thought that after the battle was over, he would be able to get as many corpses as he wanted. But he soon realized that every time Chun Zhao peeled off a piece of Amanda Didier's flesh, it would be swallowed by the dark lava around him. Clearly, Chun Zhao planned to devour Arminda Didier's flesh completely. Amanda Didier's flesh, skin, and scales were all rare treasures. It was even more valuable than an ordinary dragon stored in the association's warehouse. Chun Zhao swung hard and broke off a dragon horn that was more than 30 meters long. He tossed it to Ruan Fazibin. Ruan Faxi covered his head in fear. The dragon horn slid a few meters in front of him before stopping. As Chun Zhao devoured, the dark lava grew larger and larger. The dark magma began to envelop Armandidier's huge body. Armandidier's head was already a bloody mess, but he was not dead yet. He tried to stand up several times, but he couldn't do anything. Chun Zhao suppressed him with all his might. To the members of the association, they once again realized how terrifying Chun Zhao was. As for Lila Gavich, he was a bit scared. He thought of what had happened a few days ago. He had brought people to stop Chun Zhao. Now that he thought about it, it definitely wasn't something funny. It was something that made his hair stand on end. If he had lost control, even a little bit, then could he still be standing here? It was like an ant challenging an elephant. Undine also felt the same. Fortunately, they hadn't had any conflict before. Angering Chun Zhao would definitely not end well. When Armindidir was completely devoured, Chun Zhao discovered to his surprise that the amount of dark magma had increased by 10 times. Chun Zhao deactivated 10,000 spells in one and his clone. He let out a long breath. This battle definitely wasn't as easy as it seemed. Chun Zhao also used his full strength. He didn't dare to hold back at all. As for Armindidir's self-proclaimed demigod, Chun Zhao snorted. Back then, the source of the fallen had called itself a god. So this so-called god or demigod was just their own conceit. Even the current Chun Zhao would definitely be able to take on the title of god in a certain era. Chun Zhao went to Jalanash. Jalanash was still unconscious. The black lines on her face were fading. More Raz had been examining Jalanash all this time. Jalanash finally woke up, but when she saw the mess, she froze. What happened? President, you're back. How do you feel? Chun Zhao asked. I'm fine. What's wrong? Nothing. They didn't hate Jalanash at all, but to her, they were both angry and amused. Mr. Chun, how about we talk? Lila Gavich walked to Chun Zhao. Now, Lila Gavich didn't dare to look down on everyone like he did before. If he really angered Chun Zhao, he wouldn't even be able to take a slap. Jalanash was still in a daze. Where did these extra people come from? How did she faint? And what happened after she fainted? She felt like she had missed many things. She looked at her companions, who were looking at her with half-smiles. Jalanash had a bad feeling. She felt that what had happened had something to do with her. Chun Zhao walked to Lila Gavich. What is it? Mr. Chun, I want to buy your Armandidir's blood. Chun Zhao looked around. He just fought with Armandidir. The ground was covered in Armandidir's blood, right? Isn't it all over the ground? Armandidir shook his head. These have lost their value once they leave the body. What I want is the blood and flesh on our mandateer's dragon horn. The dragon horn Chen Zhao had put away had been torn off directly. There was still a lot of blood and flesh on it. "What's the price?" Chen Zhao asked. "Mr. Chen, you can't sell our mandateur's blood to him. He's a dirty bastard." Moscow priest immediately went up to stop him. Lila Gavich sneered inwardly, but he didn't stop Moscow's attack. If Moscow didn't say anything, Chen Zhao would probably think about it. But Moscow priest was attacking him like this. How could Chen Zhao listen to him? Indeed, it was as Lila had said. Chen Zhao glanced at Moscow coldly. "What does my deal with him have to do with you?" Moscow cursed inwardly. He'd been too impulsive just now. He had no right to ask Chen Zhao to do anything. Chapter 1575. Everyone had a rebellious mentality. Even Chen Zhao was the same. It was like a beggar telling Chen Zhao not to buy this car. It wasn't cost-effective. Mason knew the difference in status between him and Chen Zhao very well. He didn't have the right to ask or order Chen Zhao. Mesco Pryor's goal was to stop Lila Gavich, but he defended Chen Zhao first. This wasn't a good start. It was Chen Zhao's. He'd obviously make decisions based on his own judgment. He wouldn't let someone else decide what he wanted. "Mr. Chen, let's talk in private." Lila Gavich smiled. "Let's talk over there," Chen Zhao said. Moscow wanted to follow, but he backed off after Chen Zhao's glare. The two went to a place with no one around. "Mr. Chen," Lila Gavich said, "you're definitely richer than me, so it doesn't matter how much I give you." Lila Gavich had been thinking about how to convince Chen Zhao. It wasn't easy. If he was facing a normal person, he could have many choices. He could give them money or something that normal people didn't have. He could even promise to give them power. But in front of Chen Zhao, these conditions were laughable, especially what he often used, giving them power. If he told Chen Zhao these conditions, Chen Zhao would probably slap him in the face. He'd rub the legendary son of elements, Amanda Dill, on the ground. If he said he'd smash Amanda's head, he'd really do it. But I have a lot of connections. I even have connections with the political world. Chen Zhao furrowed his brows. He'd always avoided getting involved with the political world. The only person he knew who was involved in politics was Laurent, a former California senator. He'd retired at home now. This was because he had always been distrustful of the government. It wasn't because he was in a foreign country. It was the same even in China. Politics were dirty. Who knew when they'd be sold out by the politicians? "I don't know what use this has for me," Chen Zhao said calmly. To be honest, Chen Zhao's current influence wasn't much weaker than a politician's. He could even use his capital to threaten a politician. Lila Gavich smiled. Political connections were just one of his bargaining chips. If Chen Zhao wasn't interested, he had other bargaining chips. He also understood Chen Zhao's resistance and distrust towards politicians and the government. In fact, it was the same for Lila Gavich. After all, to a certain extent, they were all aliens. I also have a special channel that allows me to get my hands on some magical materials, such as Huasha's Demon Blood, or Japan's Holy Mountain Ashes, and Europe's Holy Platinum. These magical materials are all controlled by various countries and regions, and they are not allowed to be sold abroad. However, I can get my hands on them, and I can even introduce these channels to you. Recently, Donya Tianxi, Jinkura, and Ruan Faxi had been complaining about the scarcity of some magic materials. As a result, they had no choice but to choose substitutes when forging weapons or magic tools. If they could gain these connections, it would indeed be a good thing for the association. If you are willing to introduce these connections to my people, then I can provide you with a portion of our mandator's flesh. This deal had nothing to do with money, but a consideration for the long-term future. Truth be told, the supernatural society's connections had always been limited to the government. Only West had any contact with the government. He had always lacked connections in other fields. This is mainly because of the supernatural organization over the past 20 years. It had always been a third or fourth-rate organization. No one cared about the supernatural organization, so they had no interest in interacting with it. "Mr. Chen, I have quite a lot of connections in the business world," Lila Gavich continued, trying to convince Chen Zhao. Business connections? It was useless to him. Chun Zhao's need for connections had always been up to fate. Chun Zhao also knew that the more connections he had, the better, but he had always been undisciplined. Even though Lila Gavich had introduced him to business connections, it would be difficult for him to maintain them. "Oh, I have a question," Chun Zhao said. "What problem?" "Please go ahead, Mr. Chun." "Isn't that Amanda Didier known as the Son of Elements?" "But I didn't sense any other elemental magic other than the power of darkness in his body." "He's the son of an elemental lord, so of course he's called an elemental son." "Mr. Chun," Lila Gavich said matter-of-factly, "do you have any other understanding of this title?" No." Chun Zhao had thought that Amanda Didier should have other elements. In the end, Chun Zhao had beaten him to death, but Amanda Didier didn't have any other magic elements. "Okay, one portion of Amanda Didier's flesh. I'll send it to you later," Chun Zhao said. Lila Gavich wanted to continue fighting, but he didn't have the capital to move Chun Zhao. He would use Lila Gavich's connections to exchange for the flesh of Amanda Didier that he dreamed of. It was hard to say who would win or lose. It could only be said that both sides were satisfied with the deal. But Chun Zhao had the upper hand. Because Chun Zhao was the supplier, he also had the absolute right to speak. Lila Gavich, on the other hand, was the demand side. What he had was a secondary resource. This meant that he didn't know if his resources were what Chun Zhao needed. He had to go through Chun Zhao's selection. "Mr. Chun, what do you think about the conflict between the White Elves and the Dark Elves?" "No," Chun Zhao said directly. Lila Gavich wanted to get Chun Zhao and the supernatural organization to support him. But Chun Zhao wasn't interested. "It doesn't matter to me who wins or loses. As long as your conflict doesn't involve ordinary people, I won't ask," Chun Zhao said calmly. "But in Los Angeles, as long as your conflicts involve ordinary people, then the supernatural organization and I won't stay silent." Chun Zhao also had to show his attitude. He didn't want to be used by Lila Gavich. Plus, as an outsider, Chun Zhao couldn't be a judge for them. Lila Gavich was somewhat disappointed. He had wanted to pull Chun Zhao over to the Dark Elf side. That way, the barely balanced situation would immediately tilt to the Dark Elf side. After all, Chun Zhao had absolute power in L.A. and even in California. The White Elves might leave California because of Chun Zhao's existence. Unfortunately, Chun Zhao didn't plan on interfering. Chapter 1576. "Mr. Chun, what do you plan to do next?" "We have our own plans." Chun Zhao refused to tell them more information. Actually, Chun Zhao had already planned to take the others out. But he was still wary of Lila Gavich. This wasn't the ground. Anything could happen. Who knew if he had some dirty tricks up his sleeves? Chun Zhao might not be afraid, but he couldn't guarantee the safety of the others either. For example, the earthquake earlier had separated them. Then, an accident had happened. Lila Gavich probably sensed Chun Zhao's wariness too. He didn't say anything. He nodded politely and bid farewell. At this moment, Moscow Prior ran over anxiously. "Mr. Chun, I want to buy Amanda Didier's flesh too." Moscow's idea was simple, since he couldn't stop the deal between Lila and Chun Zhao anymore. In that case, he couldn't fall behind others. Once Lila and Chun Zhao reached an agreement, he would definitely use Amanda Didier's flesh to evolve. Once Lila and Chun Zhao reached an agreement, he would definitely use Amanda Didier's flesh to evolve. In terms of high elf bloodline, the White Elves obviously had more. And the White Elves had always had an absolute advantage in this aspect. But if Lila Gavich used Armand Dill's flesh, he would evolve into a more advanced high elf bloodline. Then the White Elves and Dark Elves might fall into a passive position in the conflict. Don't underestimate the influence of an elf with a high elf bloodline. High elves could suppress and motivate lesser elves because of their bloodline. If there was an all-out war and a high elf was present, the difference in individual strength between the two sides would increase by at least 20%. This was something Moscow couldn't accept. So he had no choice. He had to obtain Amanda Didier's flesh too. But things were different now. In the past, Amanda Didier had been sealed here. It wasn't easy for them, but it wasn't completely impossible. But now, Chun Zhao had killed Amanda Didier. If he wanted Amanda Didier's flesh, he had to get it from Chun Zhao. Forcefully taking it was clearly the stupidest thing to do. Trying to take Amanda Didier's flesh from Chun Zhao's hands by force was no different from suicide. It could even lead to the extinction of the White Elves. This could be seen from the battle between Chun Zhao and Amanda Didier. Chun Zhao was definitely not a kind person. "What can you give me?" Chun Zhao did not reject Mason's request. He did not belong to any faction of the White Elves or the Dark Elves. So if he could accept Lila Gavik's deal, he could also accept Moscow Pearl's deal. Whatever price that Dark Elf is willing to pay, I can also pay the same price. Mason didn't seem to know about Chun Zhao's wealth. He thought that Lila Gavik had just bribed him with money. "He's not paying for it," Chun Zhao said indifferently. "Plus, he can't give me a second price." Moscow Prior wasn't stupid. In fact, he was a rather outstanding leader among the White Elves. Thus, he quickly understood that the deal between Chun Zhao and Lila Gavik was probably some special condition or some kind of exchange of benefits. "Mr. Chun, what do you need? Or do you have any requests? As long as I can do it, I won't refuse." Chun Zhao smiled and shook his head. "I don't know what I lack." Mason Prior was the biggest farm owner in California. He should be very rich. He might even be richer than Chun Zhao. Regardless of whether it was Chun Zhao or Mason, most of their assets were actually valued assets. It was not that they really had that much money. In terms of cash flow, Chun Zhao felt that he should have more than Mason. Of course, if Chun Zhao was willing to sell his beer factory shares, he could definitely sell them for a sky-high price. Mason's expression was troubled. "Mr. Chun, we can discuss." At the moment, he could not think of what he could offer that could attract Chun Zhao. "When you think about what you can offer, come and talk to me." Chun Zhao turned around and walked over to the members of the association. "Gaia, how are you? I'm a bit exhausted. I can't transform into a fire dragon for a while." Gaia was a bit out of breath. It seemed that she had been badly injured. "Let's leave here first," Chun Zhao said. "President, what exactly happened when I was unconscious?" Jalanash still couldn't get out her mind. No one explained the situation to her, but Jalanash still felt that she might have caused it. They did not tell her because they did not want her to feel burdened. After all, Jalanash had almost killed Gaia and seriously injured her. "Let's go out first," Chun Zhao said. "It's not a big deal." Chun Zhao did not think that it was a bad thing. After all, this battle had made everyone realize where they were lacking. Anyway, it did not cause any serious or irreversible consequences. Chun Zhao planned to take them back the way they came. Just then, Lila Gavik walked over again. "Mr. Chun, is there anything else? Can I leave with you?" Lila Gavik asked awkwardly. "Why? If I leave from the way I came in, I'll die at the exit." Lila Gavik knew Moscow Prowl would never miss such an opportunity. "Of course, you can say that I'm paying you." "Sure." Chun Zhao nodded. Everyone had followed him down this time with the thought of treasure hunting. Now that they had not found the treasure, it would be good to earn some extra money. Seeing how close Lila Gavik was to Chun Zhao, Mason was displeased. But he did not show it in front of Chun Zhao. Instead, he left with Undine, Bauer, and Bader. He was actually worried that Chun Zhao and Lila Gavik had reached some kind of agreement and left them all here. "President, can you find the exit?" "Maybe I could try a new method," Chun Zhao said. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao curiously, wanting to know what the new method was. Chun Zhao closed his eyes. The dark lava under his feet began to spread in all directions. However, the dark lava did not spread in a flat way. Instead, it spread in lines. Countless lines extended out from under Chun Zhao's feet. If Chun Zhao's dark lava spread out completely, it would cover an area of around 10 square kilometers. However, 10 square kilometers was only a drop in the ocean compared to the underground world they had explored so far. If they turned the entire surface into lines, they would be able to explore much more. Chapter 1577. The lines formed by the black magma were black. The longest was more than 200 kilometers. Finally, Chun Zhao opened his eyes. "Okay, I found the way." No one expected Chun Zhao to have this move. Speaking of which, The effect of Chun Zhao's move was indeed shocking. But to Chun Zhao, it was very useless. Unless Chun Zhao was deep in a labyrinth-like area. Otherwise, this move was basically useless. Of course, it was also a good way to find people. This time, they didn't take the same path they'd come from. They came to a lava lake. It wasn't the one Chun Zhao had seen before. Right at this moment, an extremely sharp and resonant cry of a bird rang out. Everyone looked up. There was a huge beast hiding on a rock hundreds of meters above the lava lake. It was a bird, a huge bird almost 100 meters long. Immortal bird. It was an immortal bird. The immortal bird suddenly spread its wings. It was originally hidden in the darkness, and only its silhouette could be seen. However, the moment it spread its wings, its body ignited with golden flames. Lila Gavich stared at the huge immortal bird in shock. Too big. It was really too big. When the immortal bird spread its wings, it was even bigger than a regular adult dragon. Its target was clear, Chun Zhao and the others. Along with an earth-shattering heat wave, it swept over. That peerlessly terrifying aura made people feel terrified. But no one felt despair, because Chun Zhao had already stood out. The dark magma suddenly swept over and bound the phoenix of immortality. However, the undying bird's body shook and the dark magma was shattered. The immortal bird shot at Chun Zhao like an arrow. When it was 60 meters away from Chun Zhao felt his world churn. Everyone retreat. Chun Zhao yelled. This was the immortal bird's territory. As long as you touched it, you would feel like you were soaking in lava. None of the people behind him could resist such a domain. Chun Zhao shot out. The moment Chun Zhao charged into the immortal bird's territory, Chun Zhao felt like his skin was about to burn. It was even hotter than magma. Chun Zhao endured the pain and punched the immortal bird into the lava. Chun Zhao's body was already smoking. Everyone's hearts were pounding. Chun Zhao seemed to be injured. After all, he hadn't been injured in the previous battle with Amanda Didier. Just then, the immortal bird charged out of the lava. It bit Chun Zhao, who was in the air, and pulled him into the lava. Everyone cried out in surprise. All of a sudden, a pillar of lava burst forth. Chun Zhao charged out of the lava. His skin was like heated metal, glowing red. Even though Chun Zhao could resist the heat of the lava, fighting in it wasn't the best choice. The lava was the phoenix's main battlefield. Under the magma, the immortal bird's huge body was moving rapidly. He could vaguely see the phoenix's figure. Although the undying bird was a bird, its swimming speed in the lava wasn't inferior to that of a fish. Fighting the undying bird in such an environment was definitely not a good choice. Chun Zhao used the clone and Dharma return again. The undying bird rushed out of the magma once again, but this time, its eyes directly shot out red rays. Chun Zhao's chest was pierced. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Chun Zhao also didn't expect the undying bird to have this move. It wasn't that Chun Zhao had never met an opponent that could shoot rays. However, their penetrative power wasn't as strong as the undying bird's red rays. Chun Zhao looked at his pierced chest. Wounds were harder to heal than normal physical injuries. Just then, the undying bird opened its mouth and bit at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the undying bird's beak. Lava spewed out of its beak. Chun Zhao took out the black trident and stabbed it into its beak. The undying bird struggled and fell into the lava with Chun Zhao. A while later, Chun Zhao came back with the undying bird's corpse. Everyone was shaken to the core. They knew that Chun Zhao was extremely powerful. However, the undying bird's terror also made them shudder. The undying bird's body started burning wildly. Chun Zhao's heart skipped a beat. Was it going to be reborn? No, he couldn't let it be reborn. Chun Zhao poured the water stored in his spatial ring into the undying bird's mouth. The undying bird, which should have been dead, actually moved again. Its body struggled frantically. The flames on its body weakened greatly too. Green smoke kept coming out. Chun Zhao pressed down on the undying bird's head. Finally, the flames were extinguished. Its golden body eventually turned dark red. His wings, which were originally shiny, were now dim and lifeless. Undying bird. Great, undying bird. Ruan Faxbin exclaimed in surprise. Without a doubt, he would have a chance to get the materials from the undying bird when he returned. Just like the dragons, the undying bird was also full of treasures. Chen Zhao had forced Ruan Faxbin to join the supernatural organization. Even if he was kicked out now, he wouldn't leave. No organization in the world could provide him with such abundant and precious magic materials. Why had he cheated in the past? It was all to earn magic materials for his alchemy research and experiments. But now, he didn't need to do that. He could get the most precious magic materials in the supernatural organization. President, are your wounds okay? I'm fine. Chen Zhao grinned. It was painful, but it wasn't too big of an impact. The scorching fire elements were still attached to the wound, which affected its self-healing speed. But it couldn't really stop Chen Zhao from healing. But this lava lake is too big. President, how do we go over? The lava lake was at least a dozen square kilometers. If Gaia wasn't injured, she could carry him over. But now, she was injured and couldn't transform. Actually, it wasn't that she couldn't transform at all, but they clearly didn't want to make Gaia's injuries worse. Chen Zhao looked at the entire lava lake. The dark lava started spreading along the walls and turned into a black and red plank road. Let's walk over it. Chen Zhao realized that his control of the dark lava had greatly increased after expanding 10 times. At first, everyone was still a bit scared. They weren't sure if they would sink in. But soon, they realized that they were worried too much. Unless Chen Zhao wanted to harm them, nothing would happen to them on the dark lava. 30 minutes later, everyone walked across the plank road and finally reached the other side. There's still some spider demons ahead. We can get rid of them later and earn some extra money. Chapter 1578. The battle was over. The ground was covered in spider corpses. Everyone began to collect the arachne corpses. Lila Gage was confused. He didn't understand what the supernatural organization was doing. However, it could be seen from this battle. Chen Zhao wasn't the only one in the organization. Everyone in the team had decent combat ability. After the battle, everyone performed very well. Not everyone had shown their power in the battle against Jalanash. No one dared to move when they faced Armand Didier. But that was because he was too strong. Facing these spider corpses was their true power. Mr. Chun, what's the use of these spider corpses? They're delicious. Their corpses also contain a substance called earth essence. It can slightly increase a spiritualist's constitution and magic power. Lila Gage's heart jumped. Are you selling this earth essence? Depends, Chen Zhao said indifferently. He didn't answer Lila Gage immediately. It was mainly because Chen Zhao didn't have much money. A one-time sale wouldn't be of much value to him and the organization. How much could Lila Gage pay? A few $100,000 or a few million? He might as well keep it for his own people. Lila Gage might not be interested in the spider corpses. He actually wanted to use this as an excuse to have a deeper connection with Chen Zhao and the supernatural organization. As long as there were benefits, it would be a guarantee for the Dark Elves. Chen Zhao had said that he definitely wouldn't get involved in the conflict between the White Elves and the Dark Elves. But in reality, as long as there were benefits and relationships, people couldn't be absolutely neutral. They didn't encounter any more trouble later on. Occasionally, 1 or 2 underground monsters would appear out of nowhere, but they were quickly cut down. Chen Zhao had to collect all of Ruan Faxi's monsters. He wasn't sure if every monster's corpse would be useful, but he couldn't waste them. He wanted to study them and see which ones were useful. The journey could be said to be calm and uneventful, but it really wasn't a short journey, and it wasn't easy to walk. They walked for at least 10 hours. They finally arrived at the first underground lake. Everyone heaved a long sigh of relief. Next, they rested where they were, ate, and drank. After dilly-dallying for 2 to 3 hours, they finally returned home. However, the entrance to the underground river was easy to enter, but hard to exit. Chen Zhao could only hold the black trident and control the water to send everyone out. Wow, this is a great place. I want to buy this place. Lila Gevich floated on the water and looked at the beautiful surroundings of Mirror Lake. Everyone looked at Lila Gavik. Lila Gage noticed that everyone was looking at her strangely. What happened? Lila Gavich asked in confusion. I'm going to build a villa over there. I'd be honored if you could visit my house in the future. I don't think you can afford it. Why? Because this is the president's home, Jalanash said. But the typhoon last time destroyed his house, but he's planning to rebuild it. If you want to force him, you'd better think about whether the president will agree. Pretend I didn't say anything. Lila Gage decisively admitted defeat. He couldn't beat Chen Zhao and didn't have as much wealth as Chen Zhao. He didn't want to have a conflict with Chen Zhao at all. A while later, Chen Zhao also emerged from the water. The air outside was fresher than underground. Everyone was greedily breathing in the air outside. Everyone returned to the shore. Mr. Chen, Lila Gage said, leave your contact number. Chen Zhao left Lila Gavich a phone number. Let's go back to the association too. Chen Zhao wasn't really happy about the underground exploration. It was mainly because Ung Elite had lost an arm. It was also because of Moore, which made Moore feel very guilty. Although Ung Elite had been comforting Moore. He also said that Moore could stop working at the insurance company. But Moore could tell that Ung Elite was comforting him. The people in the association heard that they were back and were all waiting in the building. Everyone got out of the car. West immediately walked up to them. Ung Elite, your arm. It was an accident, Ung Elite said, smiling honestly. Move aside, Chen Zhao said. Everyone looked at Chen Zhao, not knowing what he was going to do. Chen Zhao took out the huge body of the phoenix. Everyone who hadn't gone underground was shocked. Everyone, work hard today and cut up the phoenix's body, Chen Zhao said. At the same time, extract the essence of the earth from the phoenix's body. Back then, Chen Zhao had absorbed the phoenix's earth essence and achieved clear sky and earth perfection. Therefore, Chen Zhao wanted to leave a backup plan for the association in case anyone reached this step in the future. If anyone reached this step in the future, they could use the earth essence. The phoenix from last time was more than 10 times weaker than this one. Chen Zhao didn't know how much earth essence he could extract from the phoenix. Chen Zhao stated his intentions. Everyone's eyes lit up. However, even the strongest Gaia was worlds apart from clear sky and earth perfection. Don't waste the undying bird's flesh, bones, and feathers. Share some of the undying bird's flesh with everyone. You can keep it for yourselves or bring it back for your family. However, if you bring it back for your family, don't eat too much. Ordinary people can't eat too much. But the phoenix's body was too big. Chen Zhao had to move the immortal bird's body to the man-made lake. Even so, the headquarters still reeked of blood. Everyone in the headquarters came out to help. A few normal people set up a barbecue rack and helped them cook. These normal people were the subordinates of the gang leader, Seely Dirk. They were basically completely integrated into the association now. Although Chen Zhao had said that he would imprison them for life, they were actually outer members now. It would be fine if Chen Zhao had killed them on the spot, but it wasn't so easy to imprison them forever. After a while, apart from some restrictions, they still had a lot of space to move around. They were also given salaries. At least, it was more than what they could earn outside. It was also more stable. Moreover, after coming into contact with him for a long time, they were now at ease with their duties. Of course, the main reason was that they didn't dare to go against Chen Zhao. In the association, Chen Zhao was truly like a demon king. Chapter 1579. Henry was probably the weakest in the association. Back then, he'd followed Seely to the association and ended up becoming Gaia's sparring partner. Then, he became Klaus and the Lightning team's sparring partner. But ever since he'd awakened his bloodline, his status had risen. However, the power of his bloodline was still something that no one could accept. Chen Zhao had even forbidden him from using it in the headquarters. But Henry was quite happy about it. After all, to him, it was a superpower. Actually, his attack power wasn't that great. But it wasn't like he didn't have any abilities. If he farted, he could pollute an area of 1,000 meters. He could make normal people within range lose their ability to fight. He could also ignite them and set them on fire. Normally, he could only go to the trial tower and harm the monsters there. However, he didn't seem to find a way to increase his power. After awakening, his power hadn't increased much. Every time he saw Chen Zhao bring people to carry out this mission or that mission, he was envious. But his power was still not up to standard. This made him very anxious. The association had also given him many benefits. "Henry, take this. See if it can increase your power." Chen Zhao tossed a thumb-sized bottle to Henry. It contained the essence of the earth. There wasn't a lot of it. Henry put it away carefully. These things couldn't be bought outside. The group found a few cushions and placed them under the phoenix's body. They didn't want to waste the phoenix's blood, but the blood still seeped out. The shore of the artificial lake was already dyed red. The bright red lake water was still seeping out. There weren't many fish in the lake. It was originally an artificial lake, but then it was connected to a river. West had also raised some fish, but the association kept harming the lake every now and then. For example, Chen Zhao would throw a grenade into the lake from time to time. As a result, there weren't many fish in the lake. However, there were still some fish that came after smelling the fishy smell. The phoenix's blood was drained first, and then its feathers were plucked. Other people really couldn't do the job of plucking hair. Only Gaia, Chen Zhao, Klaus, and the lightning team could do it. Without a certain level of power, they couldn't pluck the phoenix's feathers. In that case, it would be a huge project. At this time, Fei Lai brought the 2 kids to the headquarters. There was also a group of pets. All of them came. Fei Lai came because of Chen Zhao's call, but when she saw the scene, she lost interest and went to her room. Little Jerlin and little Larissa, on the other hand, came to watch the show excitedly. But what attracted them the most was the roast meat. The smell of barbecued meat was very fragrant, and it completely washed away the smell of blood. Little Jerlin walked to the barbecue rack, and someone immediately cut off a small piece of meat for her. Then little Jerlin ran away happily. Little Larissa pouted. She wanted to eat too. Recently, Chen Zhao and Fei Lai had fed her some food that was easier to digest. It was just that the barbecued meat was hard to digest, so she had never eaten it before. Chen Zhao looked at little Larissa, who was sitting on Princess. "Henry, give me a small piece of meat and mince it for my daughter. Also, give Princess a big piece too." Not far away, a beetle snuck behind the undying bird. It opened its mouth and bit the undying bird's butt. No one cared about him. Ruan Faxi was collecting the blood and feathers of the undying bird. Everyone in the association couldn't stop. Even Aduz, his old arms and legs, was helping from the side. Chen Zhao even wanted to summon the demon army to help. The undying bird that had been stripped of its feathers was now a bald chicken. It didn't look as majestic as when it was alive anymore. Luong Faxi had expended a great deal of effort. He dug out the undying bird's 2 eyeballs. The 2 eyeballs were like 2 huge red pearls. They didn't look like they were made of flesh and blood. They were more like inorganic matter. "President, these eyeballs are good stuff." Chen Zhao looked at the 2 eyeballs. They probably weighed more than 100 kilograms. They shone with a demonic red light and indeed had a breathtaking beauty. Just then, little Jerlin ran over again. "Dad, I want this." Little Jerlin always picked good stuff. "Then I'll give you one." Ruan Faxi was a bit reluctant, but he didn't say anything. "Say what? You're saying that these 2 phoenix's eyeballs can't be used as toys for little Jerlin?" Chen Zhao had killed the undying bird. Why couldn't he? Chen Zhao's pets also ate and drank here. Basins soared in the air and landed from time to pick up a piece of meat. After the undying bird was cut up, everyone started extracting the earth essence in the flesh. They extracted at least 30 liters of golden earth essence. The quality was even purer than the big spider's earth essence. The earth essence couldn't be shared with anyone. Chen Zhao and West thought that they'd share it with whoever really needed it. Giving them the high-purity earth essence now was too much of a waste. They worked from noon until 3 or 4 in the morning. Everyone was exhausted. Finally, they finished cutting up the undying bird and extracting the essence. Chen Zhao started checking Angelite's injuries. Angelite's arm had been cut off by the saint carving. Almost a day had passed, but there was still residual magic power in Angelite's wound. However, Chen Zhao realized that the dark magma could absorb the magic power. West, I'll concoct a potion for you in the next few days. It can help you regrow your limbs, but I'm afraid you won't be able to appear in front of your family or work at your insurance company for the time being. President, can my arm grow back? No problem. Chun Zhao wasn't worried. Back then, Rasfa's grandson Daniel's leg had been bitten off by a shark. A potion made from a perfect demonic crystal could make his leg grow back. After almost 2 years of research, Chun Zhao had a deeper understanding of demonic crystals. Hearing this, Ungalit heaved a sigh of relief. After all, losing an arm was a big blow to him. Whether it was in life or in battle, losing an arm would cause a lot of inconveniences. President, how long will it take? About 2 weeks. Looks like I'll have to call my family, Ungalit said. What about the company you work for? No company allows employees to be absent for 2 weeks without any reason. Ungalit didn't care much about his job. To him, selling insurance was just a part-time job. The supernatural organization paid him 10 times more than what he earned from selling insurance. Moreover, selling insurance took up too much of his time. Now, he had found a justifiable reason to quit that job. Please remember this book's domain name: 9 Heavens Godly Emperor Mobile Version. Chapter 1580. To be honest, Chun Zhao was speechless about the divorce rate in America. There were so many people in the association, except for those who were not married. Of those who had families and businesses, only an elite had a wife and children by his side. For example, West and Aduz had basically been divorced for decades. Apparently, West had been married 3 times. For example, Klaus had been married twice. Hey, Yelisa, I'm going out of town and can't go home. Ungalit called his wife. Ungalit, can't you see what time it is? Angelite's wife, Yelisa, complained. Sorry. I'm in China now. I forgot about the time difference. China? You're in China? Yes. But your passport is still at home. How did you go to China? Ungalit really wanted to slap himself in the face. He had gone too far. He did not know how to end it now. Ungalit, tell me the truth. Do you have a woman outside? Yelisa asked suspiciously. To be honest, Yelisa had always been suspicious of Ungalit, because Ungalit often did not go home after work. She had called his insurance company several times, but they all said that Ungalit was not at the office. But Ungalit did not go home either. For example, Ungalit had said that he was going on a business trip for 3 days. Then she called Angelite's company. She found that Ungalit was not going on a business trip. Instead, he had asked for a 3-day leave. No, definitely not, Ungalit said quickly. He did not know how to explain it. Then where are you now? Yelisa questioned. I really have something to do. I can't go home. If you don't have another woman, then go home immediately. It was no wonder that Angelite's wife was like this. Angelite's behavior was too abnormal. Moreover, it was not just once or twice. Ungalit could not say it out loud. I really can't go home now. If you don't come back, we'll get a divorce. What? No, I really didn't cheat. Ungalit defended himself. But how could he explain it? There was no proof. Moreover, he himself was full of doubts, so he really couldn't explain himself. If you don't appear in front of me before the sun sets tomorrow, then we will divorce. Angelite's brain was about to explode. Divorce? Ungalit put down the phone and quickly found Jalik. Jalik, do you have a way to install a prosthetic leg for me? It's best if it's a simulation, Ungalit said. Jalik was busy at the slaughterhouse. He looked back at Ungalit. Didn't the president say that he could help you regrow your arm? Why do you still want artificial limbs? I want to go back to see my wife, or she will divorce me. She thinks I have an affair. Oh, you don't? Jalik teased. What time is it now? Hurry up and think of a way for me. It's not difficult to make an artificial limb, but in such a short time, it's just an empty shell at most. Go find Ruan and ask him to come over and make a magic artificial limb with me. It can temporarily serve as your arm. Okay, I'll go now. Ungalit anxiously ran to find Ruan Faxburn. Actually, Ruan Faxburn refused. After all, this was a waste of time for him. However, Ungalit brought Chun Zhao out. Ruan Faxburn agreed without hesitation. If he really told Chun Zhao, and Chun Zhao showed up, it would be ugly. Ruan Faxburn was indeed a famous alchemist. However, his value was to solve problems for the people of the society. 7 or 8 hours later, Jolig and Ruan Faxburn worked together and finally made a magic artificial limb. Then, Ungalit rushed home anxiously to put out the fire. Chen Zhao heard about this. However, he could not do anything about it. As for whether Ungalit could successfully put out the fire, it was hard to say. However, if Ungalit really divorced his wife, Ungalit would probably hate more for the rest of his life. At noon the next day, Chun Zhao and Fei Lai brought the whole family home. Ever since little Jerlin obtained the Eye of the Phoenix, she had abandoned the undying skull Hanks. However, little Larissa had inherited her sister's hobby. She grabbed Hanks and started gnawing again. "My dear master," Hanks said in despair, "is gnawing on skulls an inherited hobby in your family? It means you still have value," Chun Zhao said calmly. The underling ran over and handed Chun Zhao a glass of juice. At the same time, it said, "Master, I want to plant some apples in the villa. Can I?" "Yes, go." Chun Zhao waved his hand. "But don't destroy the villa's design." Chun Zhao picked up Hanks's head. "At least I gave you information about Treasure Island," Hanks said unhappily. "But the information you provided is useless. Until now, I haven't even seen a shadow of Treasure Island." "It's not my fault," Hanks argued. "No, to me, it's your fault. That's not fair. I'm the master. You're talking about fairness with me?" "Fine, master, I was wrong." "Yaya." Little Larissa pulled Chun Zhao's leg and reached out to grab it. She seemed to want Hanks's head. "Take it." Chun Zhao tossed Hanks's head to little Larissa. Chun Zhao walked to the elevator and went down to the beach. At home, Chun Zhao rarely jumped down, especially in front of little Jerlin and Larissa. It would be a bad example for them. As soon as Chun Zhao entered the water, the 5 generals and the dolphin family swam to him. The 5 generals and the dolphin family were similar to dogs. They were very close to their masters. Once they recognized their masters, they would be very clingy. Chun Zhao would go into the water to play with them whenever he was free. Chun Zhao started to dive into the deep water. The 5 generals and the dolphin family followed closely. Occasionally, the dolphin would toss a fish before Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao found the giant clam. The giant clam had moved more than 100 meters from its previous position. Chun Zhao had to catch it again every time. The giant clam wasn't like a shark or dolphin with a brain. It didn't have a brain, so Chun Zhao couldn't subdue it and make it recognize him as its master. However, Chun Zhao felt that the giant clam was something good, so he treated it as his private collection. He also had the 5 generals and the dolphin family watch the giant clam so that it couldn't escape from its territory. Chapter 1581. As soon as Chun Zhao came out of the sea and reached the shore, he saw a car stop on the road above the beach. Then 5 or 6 young men and women got out of the car. Most of them were wearing swimsuits. "Wow, it's so beautiful here. How come I didn't know there was such a beautiful beach in the past?" A few girls were shouting excitedly. Chun Zhao frowned. He was annoyed to see the young people get out of the beach directly. Chun Zhao came to the beach. "Hey, this is private land. You better leave." The young men who came down froze for a moment. Just then a tall guy walked out. He was a head taller than Chun Zhao and only wore a pair of boxers. The young man walked up to Chun Zhao and looked down at him. "Ha, Asian, what right do you have to say this is private land? There's no notice board here." Chun Zhao raised his head and looked at the young man. "I'll say it again. This is private land," Chun Zhao repeated. "What if I don't leave?" The tall guy looked at Chun Zhao mockingly. "Karan, ignore him," a blonde girl said. "Let's play." The girls were all wearing swimsuits. To be honest, if they'd told Chun Zhao nicely, he might not have chased them away. The boys and girls seemed to be sure that Chun Zhao couldn't do anything to them. They walked past Chun Zhao and started playing. What was worse was that they started eating and drinking without restraint on the beach. There was beer, drinks, and all sorts of packaged snacks. After eating, they would throw their trash on the beach. All of these actions stimulated Chun Zhao's nerves. Just then, they started going into the water. Chun Zhao's lips curled into a smile. Suddenly, a wave pushed them away from the shore. Before they could react, a shark fin blocked their way. "Ah!" Shark! Shark! Shark, what Help! The 5 tiger generals had already blocked their way back to the shore. The sea kept pushing them into the deep water. Chen Zhao watched as the young people flopped around in the water in panic. Their faces were filled with evil smiles. Help! Sir! Help! Chen Zhao walked to the shallow water, but didn't go in. He always had a smile on his face as he looked at those young people with a strong desire to live. No matter which way they swam, the water would knock them over. Not only did the 5 tiger generals block their way, but they also kept dragging them into the water. However, Chen Zhao didn't plan on killing them. He just wanted to teach them an unforgettable lesson. No one knew when little Jerlin had run to the beach. Dad, what are you doing? What happened to those brothers and sisters? No, nothing, Chen Zhao said indifferently. At this time, the 5 tiger generals left. Chen Zhao didn't control the water anymore and let them go ashore. The first to come ashore was the big man called Colin. However, just as he reached the shore, a wave came from behind and slammed him onto the beach. Chen Zhao walked up to Colin and squatted down. I told you this is private property. Without my permission, you can easily die here. The young men behind him also escaped to the beach one after another. You better take the trash away. At this moment, Colin stood up again. He seemed to have recovered. He was looking at Chen Zhao in annoyance. What if I don't? With a smile, Chen Zhao looked at the young men. I don't just have sharks here. Roar! Princess crawled out of the bushes. Seeing Princess' terrifying body, everyone peed their pants in fear. Bear! Brown bear! Chen Zhao kept smiling, looking at the panicked young men. Are you willing to take the trash away now? You trash. You raise this bear? If you dare let it hurt us, you'll go to jail. Colin's aura had already weakened. His voice was also much softer. Do you know about the fortress agreement? This is my territory, and I've already ordered you to leave. If you want to stay, then stay forever. Chen Zhao sneered. Don't think I don't know what the fortress agreement is. I'm a law student. I know very well that as long as we don't do anything threatening, the agreement won't take effect, Colin said, pretending to be calm. Is that so? But what if you all die here? Colin suddenly had the urge to do something. He looked at Chen Zhao and then at little Jerlin beside him. Suddenly, Colin charged at Chen Zhao and reached out to pinch him. Poof! Chen Zhao didn't give him the chance. He broke a few of Colin's ribs with one punch. Ah, the girl screamed. The other 3 boys ran at Chen Zhao at the same time. They looked like they were going to attack Chen Zhao or snatch Colin back. However, Chen Zhao thought that they were going to attack him. Without any explanation, Chen Zhao knocked them all down. The 3 girls were even more terrified. They thought that Chen Zhao had a medium build and was Asian. So, they thought that Chen Zhao was easy to bully. They didn't think that Chen Zhao not only had an evil beast at home, but was also so skilled. The 4 boys were all beaten to the ground. You have 2 choices now. Be eaten by my pets, or take the trash away, including these 4. The girls didn't have the courage to say no. Under the double threat of Chen Zhao and Princess, they could only pick up the trash on the beach in fear. Then, they helped the 4 boys to the ground and carefully escaped. Don't step on the grass. There are stairs there. Chen Zhao yelled. Dad, you're amazing. Jerlin looked at Chen Zhao, her eyes shining. Yes, of course. Chen Zhao picked up Jerlin, a proud expression on his face. Nothing was happier than being praised by one's own daughter. Dad, Mom, are you getting a divorce? Ceylon looked at her arguing parents. Of course not. Smiling apologetically, Angalit glanced at his wife. Aimi tried to control her emotions. She didn't want to argue with Angalit in front of her 10-year-old daughter. However, she still felt that Angalit had another woman outside. This was something no woman could tolerate. Divorce was obviously the last choice. If she didn't have to, she didn't want this to happen. First, Angalit had confessed to her. However, Angalit refused to admit it no matter what. This was what she was most angry about. Just then, Angelite's phone rang. Mr. Angalit, your son Colin is in the hospital right now. Chapter 1582. Angalit froze for a moment and turned to his wife, Amy. Kellen is in the hospital. Amy took a few deep breaths. What happened? I don't know. Let's go to the hospital first. They didn't delay, and Ceylon also went to the hospital. Brother. Ceylon and her brother's relationship was quite harmonious. Unelite and AI me entered the ward and saw their son wrapped in gauze. They both looked worried and distressed. However, Unelite played the role of a strict father and immediately said, Kellen, I heard that you were beaten up by someone. What happened? What did you do outside? Amy was still worried about her son's injury. Hearing Angelite's words, she suddenly showed a bit of anger. Unelite, why do you think this is Kellen's fault? Why can't someone else attack Kellen? AI me, don't be unreasonable. I just want to figure out what's going on. You're saying I'm unreasonable? Why don't you say you have a woman outside? I don't. No? Then why is it that your whereabouts are always so unpredictable? Also, you lied to me that you went abroad. I have my own reasons. Angelite's tone suddenly weakened. Then explain clearly. Don't tell me you're a secret agent and can't let your family know. Amy sneered. She knew Unelite too well. They could be considered childhood sweethearts. When Unelite was in elementary school, he was bullied but didn't dare to fight back. He was cowardly and introverted. It was already unexpected that he would become an insurance salesman. In Amy's eyes, Unelite had always been a cowardly man. In fact, Unelite acted like that in front of his wife at home to maintain his marriage. Contrary to his personality, AI Me was strong-willed and impulsive, and she was too opinionated, even too confident. As long as it was a fact, she would take it as the truth. Between a husband and wife, one of them always needed to compromise. But now Amy was sure that Unelite had an affair. What she wanted now was for Unelite to confess to her. Stop arguing. Colin's mood became even more unhappy. If you want to argue, then leave my ward. Someone had broken several ribs in his chest. However, he and his friend had already made a promise. This matter must not be made public, because they were the ones at fault. Moreover, the other party seemed to be very rich. He didn't want any trouble, especially if he caused trouble for his family. Being beaten up by others was already depressing enough. Now, she had to listen to her parents arguing in her hospital room. This made him even more frustrated. To call on, today was definitely the darkest day of his life. He had lost face in front of the girl he liked. Now, in the hospital, and enduring the parents' quarrel. If you want a divorce, you'd better be straightforward. As soon as he said this, the wind and clouds changed color. You also think we should get a divorce? Amy looked at Colin. Wait, that's not what I meant. Colin immediately realized that he had said the wrong thing. Unelite was like a volcano that was about to erupt. If you're still not awake, then you better shut up. You don't need to get involved in my business with your mother. He felt that he was the one who was wrong the most. He clearly hadn't done anything wrong, but he had to be suspected by Amy. But Amy felt that she was the one who was wrong the most. Why can't Colin say it? He's a part of the family, so he has the right, Amy said. Then are you really going to divorce me? As long as you confess, I'll consider forgiving you. I told you I didn't cheat. Damn it, I didn't cheat. Unelite finally exploded. Amy's face was livid. Seems like you still don't want to confess. Fine, then you can live with that bitch. I wish you happiness. With that, Amy pulled Ceylon away. Where are you going? Unelite hurriedly pulled Amy back. Ceylon and I are going to stay at my parents for a while, Amy said. Unelite hesitated and finally let go. We both need to calm down. If they continue to argue, it would only cause both sides to lose control of their emotions and worsen the situation. Plus, Amy's parents lived in San Jose, the third largest city in California. Even if they drove, it would only take a few hours. Mom, Dad, don't divorce. Ceylon looked at her parents with tears in her eyes. Amy glanced at her daughter and didn't say anything. She pulled her out of the room. Unelite slumped on the chair in the room. Dad, did you really have an affair? No, I said I didn't. Unelite tried his best to defend himself. But even his son, he was full of suspicion towards him. Not to mention Amy. I didn't do anything wrong to your mother. I'm innocent. Then why did Mom say you had an affair? Colin was already an adult. He had his own knowledge and worldview. He knew how dirty the adult world was. Of course, as a son, he didn't want his parents to divorce. Even if he didn't care, His sister Ceylon was only 10. She might not be able to take this kind of damage. Mom, don't divorce Dad, okay? Ceylon sat in the back of the car and begged her mother. Amy's mind was in a mess as she drove in silence. When they got home, Amy started packing. Then she left with Ceylon. She argued with Elite the whole day. After a few hours of driving, AI and me was both mentally and physically exhausted. Mom, Ceylon and I are almost home. Amy dialed her mother's number. Okay, your father and I prepared a delicious dinner to welcome you and my cute granddaughter. When the car arrived at her mother's house, her mother and father were standing in front of the door. Mom, Dad. Amy walked in front of her parents and hugged them affectionately. Where's Ceylon? Why isn't she getting out? Amy's parents asked. She seems to be asleep. Amy opened the back door. Ceylon, you're home. Don't you want to see your grandpa and grandma? But Ceylon was still lying in the back. Ceylon. Amy walked up and patted Ceylon's cheek. Still no reaction. Ceylon. Amy seemed to realize that there was something wrong with her daughter. What's wrong with Ceylon? I can't wake her up. Amy said worriedly. Let me see. Amy's mother walked up and tested the temperature of Ceylon's forehead. It's normal. Amy's mother wasn't too sure. Take Ceylon to the hospital first, Amy's father said. Chapter 1583. How's my daughter? Doctor. Calm. The doctor said. She doesn't have any injuries, but she lost control of her emotions and sealed herself off. That's why she's in a coma. Then what can I do to wake her up? Amy's heart was heavy. She suddenly realized that her previous actions were indeed very inappropriate. She didn't care about her daughter's feelings at all. She kept arguing with Elite in front of her daughter. That was why her daughter lost control of her emotions. Her daughter seemed to be very similar to Elite. When she was hurt, she wouldn't make a fuss. Instead, she would keep it to herself and stay silent. But she wasn't an Elite. She was still a child. Amy should have noticed it long ago. But she hadn't gone to see Ceylon on the way. Amy blamed herself even more. She needs to wake up on her own, the doctor said. Currently, there's no medical treatment that can wake her up. Is there no way at all? Sorry. The doctor shook his head and turned to leave. Amy's parents were also very worried. Their love for their granddaughter was no less than Amy's. Amy, should we inform Elite? No. Hearing Elite, Amy was furious again. That asterisk shoal. It's all because of him that Ceylon got sick. But a moment later, Amy softened again. I'll call him, Amy said with a sigh. After hearing the news, Elite immediately rushed to San Jose. When he arrived at the hospital, it was already 2 in the morning. Amy stared at Elite with a complicated expression. But neither Elite nor AI me had the time to quarrel with him. Amy, how's Ceylon? Her situation isn't good. The doctor said that she doesn't have any illnesses, but because of us, she's sealed herself off. Then what can we do? Elite asked. The doctor can't do anything either, Amy said. Ceylon's like a vegetable now. Angelite's expression grew even more terrible. He wanted to scold Amy, but he swallowed his words in the end. He didn't want their relationship to worsen. Elite thought of Chun Zhao. Right now, he didn't know what to do either. He could only look for Chun Zhao. I'll make a call. Maybe that person can cure our daughter, Elite said. You know a doctor? Yes. English nodded. A previous client. Before? Have you resigned from the insurance company? Amy, I don't want to talk about it. I admit that I'm hiding something from you, but I can assure you that it's not what you think. I didn't cheat. Even with Angelite's promise, Lin Fan was not a match for Elite. However, this kind of thing couldn't be proven with just a guarantee. If an Elite couldn't prove it, AI and me wouldn't be able to find him. Women are paranoid. An Elite couldn't care less about the time. Walking to the window, she took out her phone and called Chun Zhao. Hello. An Elite, tell me, what's the matter? I believe you must have something to do to call me at this time. President, something happened to my daughter. She's unconscious in the hospital. I need your help, an Elite said. Give me the address. Chun Zhao stopped complaining about an Elite disturbing him. In San Jose, Moro Hospital. Okay, got it, Chun Zhao said. I'll go to the airport now. Okay, I'll wait for you at the hospital. After hanging up, an Elite heaved a long sigh of relief. In the association, Chun Zhao gave everyone a reassuring feeling. It wasn't just during battles. Chun Zhao also gave them a sense of security in other aspects. How is it? Did your friend agree? Yes, he's coming from LA now. Elite nodded. Amy was confused. Since when did Elite know such a friend? Judging from his expression, Elite seemed to have relaxed after the call. It seemed that Elite trusted this friend a lot. Although Chun Zhao had left immediately, he only waited for 3 hours at the airport. He couldn't rush to the airport even if he wanted to. He couldn't just fly there. The risk of flying over was too great. With the American military's radar, they could definitely find UFOs. After all, if he flew at high speed, he would generate heat. He couldn't avoid the military radar. Chun Zhao didn't want to be targeted by the military. At 8 in the morning, Chun Zhao finally arrived at Moro Hospital in San Jose. Elite brought Chun Zhao to the ward. Outside the ward, Amy hadn't slept the entire night. Although her face was haggard, she still couldn't sleep. Hello, I'm Angelite's friend, Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao introduced himself. Hello, Mr. Chun. Hello, Mr. Chun. Amy. Mr. Chun is a medical professor at UCLA. He's also a neurologist. He's awakened people in a vegetative state before. Elite added a few buffs to Chun Zhao. As expected, after hearing Angelite's introduction, Amy perked up. Mr. Chun, thank you so much for coming. You're welcome. I'm friend with Elite, Chun Zhao said, smiling. Chun Zhao smiled. Take me to see your child now. Amy and Elite brought Chun Zhao into the ward. When Chun Zhao saw Ceylon lying on the bed, his first thought was that her soul was complete and stable. From the outside, he didn't notice anything wrong with her body. Of course, Chun Zhao had already heard about Cisco's condition from Elite before this. Chun Zhao went up to examine Ceylon. The situation wasn't good because Chun Zhao didn't find anything wrong with Ceylon after examining her. Amy kept looking at Chun Zhao in disbelief. She wanted to hear good news from Chun Zhao. After the examination, Chun Zhao couldn't wait to ask about Ceylon's condition. Mr. Chun, how's my daughter? It's only a preliminary examination right now, Chun Zhao said. I need to discuss it with my team. Hearing that, Angelite's heart skipped a beat. Chun Zhao didn't have a medical team. Chun Zhao had always been a loner. When can you give me an answer, Mr. Chun? I'll give you an answer today. But the doctors in this hospital only took an hour to give an answer. So they can't wake your daughter up, Chun Zhao said. Amy froze, then she was overjoyed. Mr. Chun, are you saying that you have a way to wake my daughter up? I can only say that it's very likely, but I can't guarantee it. Chapter 1584. Angelite's mood was the complete opposite of Amy's. Chun Zhao clearly didn't tell Amy everything. Chun Zhao gave Elite a look. Elite followed Chun Zhao out. President, how's Ceylon? To be honest, I can't do anything. What? Even you can't do anything? But when I checked just now, I realized that your daughter is more like sleeping than in a vegetative state, Chun Zhao said. As for falling asleep, don't you think there's someone more authoritative than me in the association? Chun Zhao asked. Elite suddenly looked up. Norma? Yes, Norma. Chun Zhao nodded. I'll call her over now. Amy watched Chun Zhao and Angelite's conversation not far away. She'd relaxed slightly because of Chun Zhao's words, but she still couldn't truly calm down. She was always on edge. Elite came over and told her to rest, but Amy still couldn't relax. Chun Zhao stood behind Amy. Ms. Amy. Amy turned her head, and Chun Zhao suddenly snapped his fingers. Sleep. Chun Zhao hadn't used the Banshee's charm in a long time. But as his power increased, the Banshee's charm didn't regress. Instead, it became easier to use. Amy's vision darkened, and she collapsed. Elite reacted quickly and caught Amy. Take your wife back to her place to rest. I'll come with Norma. Elite thought for a moment and then nodded. Norma came quickly as well. She arrived 3 hours later. Elite also returned to the hospital. President, Elite, what's the situation now? Norma asked. Elite explained the situation to Norma. Okay, I understand. I'll try to enter Norma's dream and wake her up. However, when the three of them entered the ward, Norma stopped in her tracks. Huh? What's wrong? Annalise, your daughter seems to have been invaded by a nightmare. Chun Zhao and Annalise glanced at each other in astonishment. They hadn't discovered Ceylon's true situation. Norma had the bloodline of a shapeshifter, so she immediately realized that something was wrong. What should we do? Chun Zhao asked. Are you confident? I wonder how strong this shapeshifter is. Norma said, President, it's best if you enter her dream with me. I might not be able to defeat her alone. Then take me into the dream, Chun Zhao said. Chun Zhao actually wasn't that confident because most of his power was in his body. He didn't know how much of his power he could use in the dream. Norma, bring me in too, Annalise said. As a father, he couldn't just stand by and watch. I just learned how to bring people into the dream. It's already very difficult for me to do it alone. I can't do it with two people, Norma said. Angelite's eyes sparkled. He really wanted to say that he would replace Chun Zhao and enter his daughter's dream, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. Norma only brought Chun Zhao in because she wasn't confident. No matter how he looked at it, Chun Zhao was definitely more suitable than him to enter his daughter's dream and save Ceylon. All right then. Annalise finally nodded. What I need to do? Nothing, Norma said. Just sit down. Don't resist my magic later. Chun Zhao and Norma sat side by side on the chair beside the bed. Norma's magic was already activated. Chun Zhao could feel Norma's magic around him. Chun Zhao suddenly thought of the first time his spirit left his body. At that time, he'd been knocked to the ground by Old Turtle's punch. But compared to Old Turtle's brutal methods, Chun Zhao was much gentler. Norma was much gentler. If Chun Zhao resisted, Norma wouldn't be able to pull his consciousness into the dream at all. Norma's magic could make people enter a dream or dream themselves. It seemed like Norma's magic couldn't be defended against. In fact, with Chun Zhao's senses, Norma's magic couldn't escape Chun Zhao's senses at all. Suddenly, Chun Zhao felt someone tug at his body with great force. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself standing on a wasteland. The sky was gray and hazy, just like the wastelands in movies. There was no sun or moon, no mountains, no plants, and no color. Was this the world of dreams? Where is Norma? Where did she go? Also, which direction should he go? Chun Zhao sat down where he was. According to the probability of events happening, things would definitely happen around him. Since he didn't know where to go, he might as well wait here. Chun Zhao pinched his face. He felt something, but when he tried to punch the ground, his power disappeared. Chun Zhao fell into deep thought. What he'd entered definitely wasn't his real body, but he still felt something. This feeling was different from the spirit leaving the body. At least, the spirit didn't have a physical body. But in the dream, it actually had a physical body. Chun Zhao couldn't help but think more. Taoists felt that there was actually a universe hidden in the human body. That was the sea of consciousness. Was the sea of consciousness the dream world? If the dream world and the real world were actually a complete world, a complete universe, then did it also have a complete set of rules? Chun Zhao suddenly thought of this question. If it was a universe with complete rules, then his power should be able to be used here too. Suddenly, Chun Zhao realized that his dark magma extended out from under his feet. The small world started spreading out too. At the same time, Chun Zhao's power started flowing in his body. Chun Zhao looked at his hands in shock. Could it really be done? Was it because he understood the rules, so he could take back his power? Or was it just because he thought about it? If he could have power just by thinking about it, then could he also have godlike power if he wanted it? Chun Zhao tried again, but there was no change this time. Was it because he didn't understand a stronger power? The realm was there, so his power was naturally there too. No matter which world he was in, he couldn't really have godlike power as he wished. So, whether it was Norma or the other Nightmare Lord, they also couldn't have more power than they originally had. Chun Zhao suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. It formed a dark cloud in the sky. The cloud covered a few square kilometers. Chun Zhao finally confirmed that this wasn't his real power. It was the power generated by his consciousness. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.